Next case.
All parties in the matter of Kasperzik, Kavisto versus Kasperzik. Step forward, please.
Casey Kasperzik and his mother, Rana Kavisto, are suing Casey's brother, Robert Kasperzik, for a series of unpaid loans.
Your last name is?
Kasperzik.
And this is your mom?
Yes.
And that's your brother?
Yes.
It is your claim that the two of you had loaned Robert $5,000. He needed that money. He had to relocate his family, and he was sort of financial straits. The source of that money was an inheritance from your father.
Yes.
And when your father passed away, he left money to you?
Yes.
How much?
He left me a percentage in a building that he owned, so I didn't actually have cash.
And how much money did he leave to you?
Of that building, I was given 24%.
And you?
8%.
And when was the will probated?
Well, it was in a trust. So after all of the bills were paid from the trust, then I distributed the remaining items that were in it. And Robert was issued his 8%, and he sold it.
And you sold your interest for how much?
I believe it was $40,000 even.
Okay, and when did you get that $40,000?
It was about a year ago.
And you received how much?
It's to be determined.
Okay, but you still own your 24%?
Yes.
Did you, from the time the will was probated and the trust resolved, did you receive any cash?
No, Your Honor.
No cash at all?
No.
Now, when was it that your brother told you that he was in financial difficulty?
I have a record of was September 20th.
What year?
2012.
How much money did you loan him?
On that date, I loaned him $500.
And what did he tell you he needed the money for?
For living expenses, food, utilities, etc.
Tell me where that conversation took place.
It took place on the phone, actually a three-way call between my mother, myself, and my brother. I put the money in my mother's account, and she gave it to my brother.
When did he say he would pay you back?
Well, that's the interesting part. It's always the next paycheck, I will get my money back.
Okay. When for the next time that you allege that you lent him money?
October 24th. I loaned him $1,145.
For what?
This was for a security deposit. They were being evicted from the home that they were renting. Those owners had the home foreclosed, and they needed to move.
So he didn't pay you back with his next paycheck?
No.
May I say something? Actually, there wasn't a paycheck because he wasn't working. He was telling us that he was working. Every Friday, he was supposed to get a check. Every Friday, he was supposed to pay money back. Every Friday, it was another text that said, oh, gee, I didn't get as much money as I thought I was getting, so now I don't have the money to pay you. There was always an excuse until a few weeks ago, I decided to go to his employment. And I drove down there and found out that he wasn't even working there. And I didn't say I was his mother. I just said, oh, I'm just here to see Rob Kasperzik. Is he in? And they said, oh, no, he left a month ago.
I didn't get another job. And it was a pride factor to my, talking to my mom. Okay.
Got it. Okay. What'd you do with the $40,000?
A lot of things. I used it for rent. I used it for bills. I used it for schools. I caught a lot of debts up. I looked at it like cashing that out was better for me in the short term than it would have been to hold on to it in the long term. I needed it for a lot of things.
That's fine, but you ran out of money. Who do you live with?
My wife and 3 kids.
How old are your children?
14, 13, and 10.
How much money in total did you take from your brother and mother?
In the last couple of months?
Yes, since September.
They have given me, I would say, probably $5,000 to $6,000.
Well, why do you think you don't have to pay them back?
I feel that I don't owe them anything.
I don't care what you feel. I'm asking you
when
why.
my grandfather passed away and adjusted the will, and I received notification of just the percentages that were adjusted to, was the first time that I was informed that that was the way things were adjusted. And I feel that them helping us and contributing to our bills and different various needs that we have with 3 kids is a way of them settling that wrong.
Let me tell you how I feel. I feel that unless there is some overriding reason, it's nice to treat your children and grandchildren the same in your last will and testament, because if nothing else, it will make that person or persons who don't receive the same amount of money feel as if you don't care for them enough.
May I say something?
Okay. But it was your grandfather's money, and it's your grandfather's building, and if that's what he chose to do, there may have been good reason in his head that he said, you know what, I want to show my grandson that I do love him, but maybe he felt as if you hadn't been responsible during your life. You would always needed during your life, and it was about time you stood on your own 2 feet. Maybe he felt that way. I don't know.
Wouldn't it have been prudent to discuss that with me or the three of us?
No, it's none of your business. It's his money, not yours. You didn't earn it. You didn't build it. You didn't create it. He owes you a nothing. Not a conversation. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't feel badly, but they don't owe you anything. What you feel may be bad, but they don't owe you anything. You're a big boy that made 3 children, that has a wife, and if you make 3 children, you're supposed to be able to rely on your mother or your brother or your dead grandfather to take care of what you made. You would say that that's accurate, wouldn't you? You need money, you get a job. That's what you do. Do you work?
No.
Get a job. Get a job. You have children in school. There's no reason why you don't work. When was the last time your wife was employed? No, not an
It's been a while.
Tell her to get a job. If you can't get a job, tell her to get a job. It's not their responsibility to take care of you.
I do have a job now.
Great. Tell her to get a job, too. That way you won't struggle. You know, you owe your brother $5,000 judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your
All
Honor.
these are excused. You may step out.
The final straw was the stress that's been caused on my mother. I'm not going to let him eat through my mother the way he did my grandfather.
I mean, I feel like it's just kind of par for the course with our family.
Oh, without a doubt, I was taken advantage of. And that's why I brought him here. And hopefully he'll listen to Judge Judy and he'll get a job.
I feel like things have been changed in their favor for a tremendous amount, and I don't feel that I owe them the money.
I hope we can heal. I hope, there's no doubt I love my brother. I love my sister-in-law.
It's definitely put a major strain on our relationship.
And I want us to be a family, but I want us to be a responsible family.
But I'm hoping that we can find some closure and maybe get back to being a family.
And you may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Ramo, this is your mom, I assume.
Yes, Your Honor.
And this is your former fiancé.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, this is what I gather from your papers. The 2 of you decided to get married. Each of your parents gave you $5,000 to put in an account towards the wedding.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that right?
Somewhat.
What's wrong with what I said?
They each contributed $5,000 to a joint bank account to help us get situated as a couple, which we did use part of the money for wedding expenses.
What do you mean get situated as a couple? What does that mean?
Well, Michael wasn't actually working full-time or anything just yet, so...
So?
Well, in the account, I was depositing all of my checks and everything into the account,
Now,
so
they gave
we
you
were kind of living
$5,000
off of that.
They gave you $5,000 towards the wedding. Put your hand down. When did you start living together?
We didn't.
So there was no rent, no gas, no electric, no nothing that you shared together.
No utilities or anything, no.
Nothing. No expenses. On what date did you propose, sir?
I proposed Thanksgiving 2010, Your Honor.
And you had been dating how much before that?
5 months, Your Honor.
On what date did your parents give you $5,000 to put into an account?
They put it in on between January 2011 and March 11th of 2011.
And on what date did your mother give you $5,000?
They gave us the check on April 9th, 2011, Your Honor.
And on what date were you supposed to be married?
June 22nd, 2012, Your Honor.
This is what the case is about. You weren't living together. You had no joint expenses. The only expenses that you had were the planning of the wedding. So your parents gave you $5,000. His mother gave him $5,000. That means you had $10,000. The wedding didn't come off. Mr. Ramos says you received back returned deposits from a variety of places, and he feels as if he should have back half of the deposits that were refundable deposits since you received them, and he contributed to them because you took the money out of a joint bank account to pay for them. That's what the case is about. It's simple. Okay. Do you have what you claim were the refunds that the defendant received?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to see them.
Can I just say something? Is there proof of her parents depositing $5,000? Do you have any proof of that?
No, I don't have any proof. Your Honor, this is a check for $5,000.
Don't need it. There's no issue that both parents, listen to me, that both parents gave you $5,000. What are you talking about?
Well, I do. We just have documentation of us giving the...
It doesn't matter. That's not what the lawsuit is about. The lawsuit seeks the return of half of the deposits that she received for the wedding. I read the case very carefully. That's what the complaint alleges. We are seeking money for our half of unreturned deposits, wedding package, and honeymoon. Now, can I please have the proof of what deposits were returned?
Your Honor, can I just say something?
No.
Your Honor, this is a check that Ms. Slavic received from the catering hall that we were supposed to have our reception at.
I'd like to see it.
And also up here, this is our joint bank account number. And on that check, the bank account number on the check doesn't match our joint account number.
And also...
Shh. Did you receive back $3,200 from the catering hall when the wedding was canceled?
I did. It came back in my name because the original deposit was made by my mother's debit card.
I don't care. It was made by whose debit card? Did you give him half?
No.
Well, you have to.
You're...
Quiet. So far, you're not losing. So far, you're not losing. I mean, why do you think you're entitled to keep this money?
Because in the joint bank account that we had, neither of the two plaintiffs actually contributed any money themselves.
I don't understand what you mean.
His father gave us the check for the $5,000 that was deposited. It was not from Michael or Deborah Ramo.
Well, then the father can take it up with them. Is that your defense? You're ridiculous. I couldn't figure out what your defense was to start with. I actually read your defense very carefully, and I said, what is this girl, nuts?
It was claimed that the wedding center package that we have was supposed to be refunded. I have the contract here that says it was non-refundable. We didn't get that money back. I have that here.
Now, listen to me. What is this check?
That's the check from the catering hall. The initial $1,200 that we contributed to that, like I said, was from my mother's account. The $2,000
He gets back half of this.
The $2,000 second payment.
He's going to get back half. Madam, hey.
I'm not talking.
Now you can sit, because you don't know how to keep your mouth shut. He's a big boy. He knows how to speak. You're old enough to get married. You know how to speak. Tell her to be quiet.
Yes, Your Honor.
$1,600 so far. What else?
Actually, with that check, when I would ask her about where's the check, she said, I'm working on it, leave me alone.
Listen to me. Is this supposed to be important to me now? I have other things to do today. I already gave you half the check.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right?
Yes.
What do you want to tell me? You want to tell me she's not a good person?
I can tell you a lot of stories that
I don't care.
Okay.
That's something you tell somebody else.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go tell that to a therapist.
Yes.
Tell it to Dr. Drew, not to me.
Yes, Your Honor.
I now have $1,600 for you.
Yes. This is the check that was written from my father to Mrs. Slavic, because when we booked the catering hall, Mrs. Slavic put a first deposit of $1,200 on her credit card, and to split expenses, my father wrote a $600 check to Mrs. Slavic.
You're just getting back $1,600. That covers it.
I know, but this is an extra $600 check.
Listen, let's go. What else?
There's also a matter of $2,000 from the remaining $5,000 in our account. I'm responsible for $1,000, and Ms. Slavic is responsible for $1,000.
After all the wedding expenses were paid, there was still $2,000 left in the account.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, Your Honor.
And who closed the account?
Ms. Slavic.
Did you
He
close
closed the account.
No, Your
Show
Honor,
me.
that's not
Show
true.
me.
He closed the account back in, I believe it was March. I don't have the email, but he sent me an email to say that he went to the bank, closed the account himself.
Your Honor.
And I
Just a
do
second.
have the following.
Then let me put it to you this way. He may have closed the account. Who took out the money?
There was no money left at the end of the account.
$2,000. Where is it?
We spent the money in the year and a half that we were engaged for, and I have all of the bank statements with highlighted transactions that me and him made on vacations and movies and dinners and
Your
spending
Honor.
that $2,000.
$1,000 goes to you, sir. That's $2,600. What's
But-
next?
Your Honor, also with that account, Ms. Slavic was putting her own personal...
Listen to me. I've just given you $1,000.
He spent that money
I've just
too.
given you $1,000. That's what you asked for. I'm getting the picture. Did you buy an engagement ring?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Where is it?
She still has it, Your Honor.
And I offered to give it back, and he said no.
Well, that was very nice of him to say keep it, because it was a gift made in contemplation of getting married. That's what an engagement ring is. Wedding didn't take place. He should get back the ring. Doesn't sound like a bad guy to me. Keep going. What else? $2,600. Let's go. I have other things to do today.
I'm sure you're very busy, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Michael Ramos says ex-fiancée Jennifer Slavic owes for the return of money they put away for a wedding that never happened.
Okay, go ahead.
There's also the matter of the wedding center. We together put it down $1,000 on a wedding center package.
What's the wedding center package?
The wedding center is a company in Comac, New York that specializes in all-inclusive items towards a wedding, which is a photographer.
Africa, music, flowers,
Yes.
linens. Okay. You each put in?
Oh, no, we didn't. We, from our joint account, we put in $1,000. And what had happened was is that... Yes?
any of that money back?
It's non-refundable. It's right in the contract.
Well, that's what you also said about this, but you got the money back.
It's
all
written
I
right
want
here
to
in the
know,
contract.
That's not my question. My question was, did you get any money back from the wedding center? No. Do you have any proof that she got money back from the wedding center?
I have 2 vouchers, one for me and one for her, Your Honor.
What does that mean?
The wedding center gave us each a $450 voucher, which adds up to $900, but they took $100 off because they gave Miss Slavic a vacation voucher, and I don't know if she ever returned it, and I don't know if she ever used it, Your Honor.
Just a second. So you got a voucher towards another wedding?
Towards a honeymoon, technically.
Something else?
Right.
Yes.
Right, so you got $450 out of $500.
Yes.
I'm not interested. Don't waste my time. I'm a big girl. I went through 17 years of postgraduate education. Keep going.
That about covers it.
Great, $2,600. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you. So.
Cards are excused. You may step out.
We went out to dinner, took me out to dinner, and then said he doesn't want to get married.
I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm not happy in this relationship. I'm not happy with the way she treats me.
Unfortunately, I guess he couldn't handle being with a strong female.
She just wasn't a very nice person towards me.
Be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Ms. Vargas, this is a case that is about a failed girls' weekend. And it is your claim that a bunch of gals were going away for a weekend. Ms. Rosato was among them. And you claim that she got drunk. And while she was drunk, she destroyed hers. In addition, you would like her to be responsible for the hotel room because of her conduct. You decided it would not be wise to stay in the hotel, and you cut the weekend short and left. I'm not so sure about that part of your claim, but let's hear about the damage to your property. When was this weekend?
June 2nd of this year.
Where were you going?
Rhode Island.
How many gals were going?
7.
Did you have a van?
A 2007 Land Cruiser.
So it was able to accommodate all 7 young women?
Yes, it seats 8.
Are you related to each other or just friends?
Related.
How are you related?
She's my cousin.
Explain how she's your cousin. Is she the child?
Others.
So you were close?
Not close. I mean, we have a relationship, yes.
And what about the other young women on the trip? Were they also related to you?
Yes, everyone was related.
Was this young lady on the trip?
Yes, she's the one who planned it. It's my sister.
Were you on the trip?
Yes.
Okay, tell me what happened. And keep your voice up, please.
We went to Rhode Island. I was the designated driver, so they were drinking. It took us about maybe 4 hours to get there. By the time we already got to the pizza parlor, she was already kind of loud, so I already figured she was, you know, a little drunk.
What pizza parlor? You can't talk to me as if I know what pizza parlor.
It was in Rhode Island. It was on our way to the hotel. I don't, because we weren't familiar with the area.
So you stopped for something to eat?
Yes. At that point, it was probably 6 o'clock. When we checked into the hotel room, she was already, like, really loud. I had asked her to keep it down, and she was like, oh, don't tell me to keep it down. So at that, I kind of realized from there on we were probably going to have, you know, just a little bit of an issue. When we checked into the hotel room, she was already, like, loud.
You said that already.
Right,
move on.
In the room.
Move
in the room. Right, when we were in the room.
Okay.
She had my camera. She had spilled beer on the side of my camera, and I grabbed my camera, and I was like, you know, don't mess with my camera. That's a very expensive camera. And I put it away. After that, we went down, we took pictures, we went to Club Roxy. They didn't let her in because they seen she was intoxicated.
Did they not let you into the club, Miss Rosato?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did they tell you why they weren't letting you into the club?
I wasn't allowed into the club because I had no ID.
Why didn't you have any ID with you?
Well, I did have my ID, but I didn't know who had it among me.
What are you talking about? What you just said is nonsense.
Obviously, it was left. It must have been left in the hotel. No one had my ID. We didn't have my ID there. I could not get into the club, Your Honor.
And it had nothing to do with you being drunk?
No.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, stand up. You were with her?
Yes.
All 7 of you went to the club?
Yes.
Did you go into the club?
Yes.
And all 6 gals went into the club?
Yes.
What was she supposed to do outside?
Well, she was left outside in the front of the club. I went and I talked to my cousin Danielle. I asked her for the keys, so let her in the car so she could at least stay in the car because we didn't know that area. So
how far was the club from the hotel?
Maybe 15 minutes.
So you could have driven her back to get her ID, and then she could have gotten into the club, right?
Yes.
Well, why didn't you do that?
I wasn't driving, and to be honest, I didn't even think of it.
You mean all 6 of you didn't think of it? You were all cousins. You all went away. One of the gals allegedly left her ID in the hotel, and that was the reason that she couldn't get into the club. And nobody said, you know what? So we'll start this party a half hour later, and let's go get her ID. That's why I don't believe you. or you? Because it doesn't make sense that 6 gals, not one of them would think or suggest going home, picking up your ID if you left it in the hotel, and coming back so you could all enjoy the evening together. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, Your Honor.
Great. Now you can sit down. How did your camera get broken?
My cousin called me to tell me, when she came in, I gave her the key, and I said, just make sure she gets the key, because that's the only key we had. We don't want to get lost. Move my camera to the trunk, just in case she walks out. I don't want anybody to steal my camera. She called me to tell me that her sister got the key, and she locked the van, so she couldn't get in. At that point, it was about 1. I left, and they told me if I left the club, I wasn't going to be able to go back in. I was like, that's fine. I tried to wake her up because she was sleeping in the passenger seat, so we had to bang on the window a little bit to wake her up. She finally woke up and was able to unlock the doors. My husband had called me, so I stepped away to make a phone call. When I came back, the doors were locked again. At that point, I don't know why she got so upset or what caused her to get that upset. That's when she grabbed my camera by the strap and she started banging it against the dashboard, and it happened to my lens, and she cracked the windshield as well.
I'll hear you.
Your Honor, the camera is broken, but it's not in the gist of me slamming it against the windshield.
Did you say it's not just because I slammed it against the windshield?
No, I did not slam it against the windshield.
Well, how did it get broken?
We were fist fighting in the front seat, both of us, and it dropped off it fell off the front seat, Your Honor. Why the door was open.
Just a second. Why were you fist fighting in the front seat?
Well, I was in the car for 3 hours while all the girls were inside the club, and I had no keys to the vehicle. So when Danielle came out of the club to try to open up the door, the alarm was going off in the car. I could not open up that car from inside. I guess it was a safety policy due to the alarm coming off. Danielle was trying to get in the car. I was trying to open up the door to allow Danielle to get in the car. At this time, there was no incident. There was no issue between us. Finally, I did catch the lock. When Danielle did come in the vehicle, we were both obviously very upset due to her trying to get in the vehicle, me being in that vehicle for 3 hours with no keys, no nothing, and her coming in. And
well, she wasn't upset because evidently she was partying in the club.
No, at that time, Your Honor, she was upset because she couldn't get into the car. She didn't know where the keys were to the car, nor did I, and the alarm was going off. So when she approached the vehicle and I was sitting in the front seat, we both had got into an encounter. And the doors were open and the camera had fell off the driver's seat, Your Honor.
How did the windshield get broken?
I believe in the gist of us fighting. There was a lot of commotion. I have bruises of my injuries. It was a big fight.
I'd like to see pictures of your injuries.
That's a bite mark.
How did you injure your leg?
Those are bruises from when I fell. There was 2 fights, Your Honor. Me and Danielle were fighting into the car, and then when we had stepped out, she left to go get her sister, not Alicia, the other sister, Jessica, which she mentioned she's going to kick my butt because the camera was broken, to come outside the club. So when Jessica and Danielle were together, they attacked me again. Jessica had punched me in the head as well.
Okay. Your last name is?
Rosado.
How are you related?
This is my older sister.
Were you there when this was all going on?
Yes.
So tell me what you saw.
Okay.
First, did you see what happened to the camera?
Yes, the camera fell outside the car.
Did you see what happened to the windshield?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
You know the windshield was cracked.
I knew after when my cousin Danielle told me about it. When we were driving home, she's like, my windshield's broken. So I was like...
So you missed part of this fight?
Yes.
Because you didn't see the windshield. The windshield wasn't broken when you got to the club.
I was standing in front of the car when some innocent bystander said, oh my God, look behind. When I looked behind, they both were fist fighting in the car. So I was in front of the car. I turned around, I seen them both fist fighting. I came in through the back door and separated both of them.
Was that before or after the camera was broken?
The camera was broken after the first fight.
Tell me about it.
The fight?
No, when the camera got broken.
After the fight, they separated. Danielle was crying. I was talking to her. She was calming down. Delilah was on the other side of the car. I wasn't really talking to her. I was a little bit annoyed. Then,
You weren't annoyed to go back and get your sister's ID?
No, I was annoyed with the whole situation.
Well, who were you annoyed at?
My sister.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Danielle Vargas says her cousin, Delilah Rosado, broke her camera and her windshield in a drunken rage. Danielle is also suing for the cost of a hotel room.
Now, why were you annoyed with your sister?
Because I ended up not being able to get back into the club. Due to coming out to bringing out the keys, I couldn't get back into the club. They have a law at 1 o'clock in the morning. Once you come out, you can't go back in. I was unaware of that because I'm not from Rhode Island, so I got stuck out there. So I was on the phone. They started fighting. Somebody told me. I came in. I separated the fight. I guess the camera got thrown on the floor.
You just said, I guess the camera got thrown on the floor.
Yes.
Now you can sit down.
Okay.
Do you have a bill for the camera?
I have a picture of how it looked without, when this lens was still attached. I don't know if you want to see that.
Is there anything wrong with the camera itself or just the lens?
It's just my lens.
How much was the lens?
The lens was $800.
Okay. Do you have a bill for the windshield?
And I have a picture of that as well.
I'd like to see that as well. Okay. Anything else you want to tell me?
As far as the hotel stay, it was under my sister's name, so with the way her behavior was.
That's a problem. She's not going to pay for the hotel room for all 7 of you. Let me tell you this. I don't understand why 7 young women feel as if it's an appropriate thing to do to start on a weekend where everybody can have a good time and start drinking as soon as they leave their house in a van. I just don't get that. Maybe I would get it if I were younger, but to me, it just doesn't make sense. It makes sense to go to a club and have a few drinks at a club and have a wonderful time, and if you want to drink at a club, that's fine. But I don't understand the focus of a weekend is get into a car and 6 young women, because I assume you weren't drinking because you were the driver, start drinking. And that's the way you plan a weekend. Well, if that's the way you plan a weekend, sometimes it goes awry. So if you decided to cut the weekend short, it was probably a very, very good idea. But she's not paying for the hotel room. She's going to pay you $1,135 for your camera lens, and for that's your fault. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was just a good time between us cousins, and unfortunately something happened.
I think it was just the liquor.
Alcohol is very devious, and I believe if there was no alcohol involved, we would have had a beautiful time.
It was a good day until...
Maybe we should have listened to the judge and started drinking at the club, and we could have had a great weekend.
It was a bumpy ride back.
And ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Murray, you claim you were assaulted at a party and injured at a party at your home by you and others.
Yes. Yes.
You want to be compensated for that.
That's correct.
Mr. Wright says that you started the trouble yourself. So let's figure out when this party was.
Okay. On February 25th, 2012, my cousin was having a late Valentine's Day party.
Who's your cousin?
My cousin, Michael Wright, and his wife, Lisa. My wife, Karen, we both were invited to the party. We got to the party around 11 o'clock. Well, we noticed, there was a lot of people at the party. There was a lot of alcohol, and there were some minors also attending the party. Spoke to my cousin. He indicated that it was fine. Everyone was in his house.
Tell me what you said to him.
Yeah, well, I told him that I noticed a couple young people were having some drinks, and he indicated it was fine. It was his kids. They were in his house. As long as they were there, they were fine.
Okay.
Majority of the party attendees were family. Throughout the night, we were having a good time. Around 1 o'clock, the party was kind of winding down. We decided to leave. My wife was going to get her shoes, and that's when she was grabbed by some man at the party.
You want to step up?
Sure. We had been dancing, and I had taken my shoes off. I was wearing high heels, and I bent down to pick up my shoes as we were getting ready to leave, and I felt an arm around my waist, and I looked, and it was not him, so I kind of pushed the guy off, and he grabbed me again, and that's when my husband came over and kind of asked what was going on.
Did you witness that?
I did. I saw him from across the room. I rushed over there.
Did you know who that was?
I did not.
So it wasn't a family member?
It was not a family member.
What did he look like?
He was an African-American male, probably 6'1".
You know who it was?
Yeah. He was a date of my sister.
He was your sister's date?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Rob. That's all I know.
Rob. Okay. So you knew who he was talking about, but you didn't witness the incident?
I witnessed it.
You did?
I witnessed it.
Okay, well, yep. I don't want you to speak unless I'm speaking to you.
Okay, sorry.
You witnessed it?
No, I witnessed the assault.
I'm not talking about the assault. I'm talking about...
I witnessed
I'm talking about that.
The grabbing. No, I didn't.
Well, how did you know it was Rob who put his hands on her?
Because I'm DJing. I turn around, I see this guy, a guest of mine, going through my entertainment stand, being assaulted by Mr. Murray. So
you didn't see what happened before that?
No, I did not. No.
Okay.
Okay.
So tell me what happened when you went over to this 6'1" man.
Yeah, so I approached him. I asked him what was he doing.
Now tell me, what did you say to him? Not ask what he...
I told him, don't touch my wife.
Okay.
You know, he told me to get out of his face. You know, I told him, don't touch my wife again. He shoves me, and I shove him back. And then that's when my cousin Michael Wright steps in. You know, at that point, for some reason, my cousin was really agitated with me. You know, he was screaming that I had ruined his Valentine's Day party. You know, I'm talking to my cousin, trying to explain to him that this man grabbed my wife and I was trying to protect her. You know, he used some explicit language, said he didn't care. At that point, the party's holding Michael Wright back, and I told my wife, let's just finish getting our stuff, we're out of here. Michael subsequently breaks loose from all the people that was holding him back, and he attacks me.
Can I say something?
You'll have your turn.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So he rushes me like a bull. Mr. Wright, he's a big man. He rushes me. I do the best I can to protect myself. He hits me and he gets me down on the ground, and that's when the entire party just attacks me. Michael Wright's holding me down, and the party, his son included, you know, they're just punching me in the face. They're stomping on me.
Were the police involved with this?
They were. I was able to finally get up. You know, I believe some people grabbed Michael Wright off me. I was able to get to the door, which surprisingly was locked at that point. I was able to unlock the door. I got to my car and I called the police, and the police arrived to the scene.
I'd like to see the report. What happened with the case?
They ultimately dismissed the assault. They didn't follow through. They indicated that it was a family dispute and domestic situation.
Do you have medical records?
I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to take a look at them.
I also have photos of my injuries, which are pretty horrific. Your Honor, from the injuries, I suffered a closed head injury, a loss of consciousness, a broken nose, a broken left foot. It's all documented.
Okay, Mr. Wright, now I'll hear you.
Okay. At the party, it's like 3 in the morning. It's late. It's late. Most of my guests got left already. So, like I said, I'm DJing. I noticed Dwayne Murray pushes Rob through my entertainment stand. Rob's on the floor like, what's going on? What's going on? But he's jumping up like down and saying, oh, go my wife, go my wife, go my wife. So I gets up, like, what's going on? What's going on? Me and Wayne are having words. So my guests take me outside, try to calm me.
That's not true.
Stop. Listen to me. Notice how I said he was not to interrupt you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Same goes for you.
My guest takes me outside, like, hey, my son said, Dad, calm down, it's cool, it's cool. I said, all right, man. I noticed his wife running out of my house, barefoot, no coat on. So she leaving. So I'm like, why she leaving so crazy? So I go in there and ask wife what's going on. He didn't jump on her. He jacked her up. I'm talking.
He jumped on whom?
He attacked her. Say,
attacked who?
His wife.
Just a second. He attacked his wife.
Wife.
Where was he when he attacked his wife?
House.
I thought she ran out of his house.
I'm telling you what happened. Why she ran out the house? Because he attacked her. That's why she.
Well, just a second. You didn't see that at all.
I saw it.
Just a second. You didn't see that.
Okay.
You were outside.
Yes, I was.
And what you said to me was you saw her running out of the house.
Barefoot.
Now, there had already been an altercation.
No altercation?
Oh, yes.
No altercation?
No. Listen to me very carefully, sir. There had already been an altercation in your house between Rob, the plaintiff, and you, because you said your friends took you outside to cool off. Your friends took you outside to cool off. So there had already been an altercation between he and Rob and then the two of you because he went into your entertainment center.
We said some words.
That?
Okay. That's an altercation. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
That's right.
Okay.
Now you're outside.
Now I'm outside. I see his wife leaving my house in a panic mode. So I go in my house, see what's going on. I see him and my wife arguing. Oh, you can't argue. I said, dog, come on, it's time to go, man. It's time to go. So he says no. He punches me. I punches him.
Where did he punch you?
In my mouth.
Do you have photographs of your injuries?
No, I don't. I don't. He punches me. I punches him. We lock up, and we fall to the ground. And that was the end of the fight. And
No.
Listen, I'm telling you, man. Listen.
You think he did this to himself?
Listen,
Just a second. I'm asking a question. Do you think he did this to himself? Do you think?
No.
Well, then all I know is he punched you according to you once. You punched him.
We
got to the ground, and then it was over. And I'm saying to you,
hey, ma'am,
where did this happen?
On the ground. Listen, ask him, did I punch him? Ask him.
I'm asking you.
I'm telling you, I punched him one time.
Where did this happen?
At my house.
No, this isn't one punch, sir.
Listen, the mob of the people started fighting him, not me.
Just a second. Where were you when the mob of people started to fight him?
I was on the ground getting kicked too.
Show me your injuries.
I don't have none.
Show me a picture.
I don't have none.
Show me a hospital record.
I don't have none.
Show me a doctor's letter.
I don't have none, man.
Okay, now I'll get to you. I'm finished with you. Now, get to the point where he's outside cooling off.
Michael's outside, he's cooling off. Karen is on the wall.
She's on what?
She's on the wall. She's on our wall. And Dwayne is telling her, I said let's go. I said let's go. Karen is saying in return, but he never did anything to me, Wayne. Wayne has got her like this. I said let's go. Now, earlier, Karen was running around in circles in the house. She was singing, dancing, minding her own business. She wasn't bothering anybody. He trapped her in the corner. I was there. And he said, let's go. And I said, leave her alone. She having fun. She ain't bothering nobody. Because she wasn't. She was just doing what she do. Then, later on, we're doing a line dance. We're all in the house, all the guests, everybody. We're doing a line dance. And during this line dance is when Dwayne comes and pushes Robert through the TV stand. And he tells Robert, don't effing touch my wife. Well, Robert don't have a clue who his wife is.
Don't tell me
well,
Robert has a clue or
right,
Robert doesn't have a clue.
Well, that's what he says. Yes. So I hear Robert say, who is your wife? Don't touch my wife. So that's when the whole altercation starts. So Karen, she gets up, she runs out the house after he, grabs her up and say, I told you let's effing go. But she stated out her own mouth, he never touched her. He never said anything to her pertaining to Robert. Robert never said anything to her. He never touched her. She left out of my home. She didn't have on any shoes. She didn't have on a jacket.
I didn't hear anything about a fight.
The fight is, Michael comes back in. Michael comes in the house.
So he's
and
cooled
he tells
off.
Wayne.
So he's cooled off now.
Cooled off, I don't know. I can't say that. But I'm saying he came back in the house. Him and Wayne gets into it. Because his thing is, you destroying my home. You done assaulted my guests. So they start fighting. He already told me, F.
All right.
That's what he tells me.
All right.
He's on the ground. They're fighting. Michael's on top of Wayne.
Should have stayed outside and cooled off a little more, Mr. Wright.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, he claims his cousin Michael Wright, along with several guests, assaulted him during a party in Michael's home. Dwayne says the incident started when a fellow guest touched his wife inappropriately.
Should have stayed outside and cooled off a little more. One punch didn't cause these injuries. These are serious injuries.
One punch didn't.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Excuse, you may step out.
And you expect something like that if you're in, an unsavory environment, alcohol, like a bar or something, but not in regards to your family. No. Jealousy. With Michael was pretty inebriated.
His wife not loving him?
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous,
He trying to say I did it one punch.
Along with the fact that one punch, caused all my injuries. It was a big old fight. So, as you can see, their story just did not make sense at all.
I can say that it's over. We're done.
I never got a phone call, how you doing? Are you okay?
So I see him, I don't.
We've pretty much just excommunicated that side of the family, so.
Plaintiff alleges that after an altercation, Mr. Rucker assaulted you. You want him to pay your medical bills. Mr. Rucker says not only did you put your hands on him first, but he also was arrested for this assault, which was ultimately dismissed. But he spent 3 days in jail. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
From what I gather, you had been to his house. You stayed over, left some property there. You didn't leave it over intentionally, but you called and said, I want it back. Mr. Rucker got everything back to you, and it was not much. Some hair products. What else?
A DVD. It was a movie.
And you kept bothering Mr. Rucker about it, according to Mr. Rucker, and Mr. Rucker said he sent his sister, or you got your sister to get the stuff, but in the course of picking up the stuff, somebody forgot the DVD. And for the course of the next few days, you, according to Mr. Rucker, called him incessantly for this DVD. Was it a DVD of?
It was the Next Friday movie. It was my friend's movie, though. It wasn't mine.
Could you keep your voice up? It was an X-rated movie.
Oh, no. It's next Friday movie.
Next Friday.
Yeah.
And I hear X-rated. Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Next Friday movie. And it was your friend's movie.
Yes.
Now, by the time you were calling Mr. Rucker about this movie, had you come to terms with the fact that he didn't want to be your boyfriend anymore?
No.
No?
Maybe.
What do you mean maybe? Maybe he didn't want to be your boyfriend anymore, or maybe he did want to still be your boyfriend?
Maybe he was just saying it.
Saying what?
That he didn't want to.
He told you he didn't want to be your boyfriend anymore.
Yeah.
You didn't have any reason to doubt him, did you?
No.
Okay, so he said, I don't want to see you anymore. You're a little bit nutty. You know, you're calling me incessantly about this DVD. I'll give it back to you. I gave you back your other stuff. And who went and picked up your other stuff?
I did. I picked up my stuff from his sister.
Now, before this happens, Mr. Rucker says that you were escorted off his property by the police. Is that true?
Yes.
Now, tell me under what circumstances you were escorted off Mr. Rucker's property. He wasn't even home.
No.
I
went to his house to try and go and get the movie.
And when you went to his house to try to get the movie, he wasn't home.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you try to get into the house?
I kicked the door a few times.
Shh. And evidently someone must have seen you, or the police fortuitously were around, but the police came to the property.
Yes.
And what did they do when they came to the property?
They just asked me what I was doing, and I told them I was trying to get my movie, seeing if he was there, if I could get the door open so I could grab the movie.
So you were trying to go into his house and take property?
Yeah.
Okay. And they told you better get out?
Yeah.
Okay. So with that as a backdrop for this case, now you're going to tell me what happened on the 26th.
I had went to go meet with him.
Well, at some point you must have discussed with him between being escorted off his property by the police.
Yes.
And the next day you must have had some communication with him.
Yes, he had told me he had went back down to Milwaukee.
Did you call him or did he call you?
He called my friend's phone. He didn't even call me directly.
Great. So he called your friend.
Mm-hmm.
He has your number.
Yes.
But he didn't want to call you, called your friend.
Mm-hmm.
And made arrangements through the friend for you to pick it up?
No. I had talked to him on my friend's phone.
Okay, then you got on the phone.
Yes. And I had told him I was on my way back down to Milwaukee, that I would be there in an hour, and I asked him to stay at his mom's house so I could meet him.
For what?
To pick up the DVD.
Keep going.
Well, we ended up getting stuck in traffic a little bit. So by the time I got there, it was about 6:30 at night.
What time did you tell him you would be there?
About like 5:30.
Keep going.
I had called him, told him to come outside, that I was there. Mm-hmm. I was parked in the alley. I had seen him coming out the door, so I got out. He approached me, and he was upset at the fact.
What did he say to you, and what did you say to him? I want to know who spoke first.
I believe he did. He handed me the DVD.
He handed you the DVD.
And told me, here you go.
Handed you the DVD and said, here you go. That's what you say happened.
Yeah.
And what happened next?
He had asked me what was taking me so long. I had told him my friend was driving my car. We were stuck in traffic. Took a little bit longer than expected.
And? But right now you have the DVD.
Yeah, I put it in my car.
Why didn't you put yourself in the car? You put the DVD in the car. What about you? Why didn't you get in your car? You now have what you came.
He was still talking to me.
No, you now have what you came for.
Mm-hmm.
The DVD, right?
Yes.
This important DVD. Keep going. Keep going.
He was still talking to me at that point. He was approaching me. He kind of like pinned me up against the car. I had nowhere else to go, and
what?
He was like yelling, like
what? So far, he's handed you the DVD.
Yes.
And said, according to you, here you go.
Mm-hmm.
So far, all is fine. Because he's going to have, I read his answer, he's going to have a whole different version of what happened. You do understand that?
Oh, yeah.
So, now he's pinned you up against the car.
Mm-hmm.
And?
Well, he, like, came at me. I didn't have anywhere else to go. Like, I threw my arms, like I was scared.
Threw your arms, yes.
Yeah.
And what happened when you threw your arms?
I hit him in the neck.
You hit him in the neck?
Yeah.
Yes. Threw your arms and hit him in the neck. And what else?
He had like a boil on his neck or something, I guess, or something had bit him. When I hit it, it hurt him, and so he reacted by hitting me.
And?
And then that's how it happened.
So you hit him,
Yeah.
And then he hit you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened.
Yeah.
And is that why you're here?
Yes. He had punched me in the mouth first.
Oh, just a second. You didn't say first. Who hit who first? Did he punch you in the mouth or did you hit him in the neck?
I had my hand had slapped
hit him in the neck.
Yes.
Right.
And then he punched
my
me in the
hand
mouth.
had slapped him in the neck, but his hand punched me in the face.
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Keep going.
And then I had proceeded to bite his hand.
So you bit him?
Yeah, for like a second.
You bit him?
Yeah. But as soon as
then?
I did it, he lifted his hand up with my face like on it, and he punched me in my eye.
And?
Like, I didn't get knocked unconscious, but I saw flashes of light, like I fell down. That was the end of it.
So what are you doing here in court today?
I had to go to the hospital.
So
my
what?
face was split open.
So what?
I'm suing him for the hospital bills. He
He's
had
not
agreed
gonna
to
pay
pay
you
the
anything.
hospital bills.
He's not going to pay you anything.
Well, he had agreed to it, and that's the whole reason I went to the hospital. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone.
Oh, you mean you wouldn't have gone to the hospital where, according to you, they gave you 10 stitches in your eye?
Mm-hmm.
You would have gone home and not had the 10 stitches in your eye?
I don't have money to pay these bills.
That's not his problem. You assaulted him first.
Well, what else was I supposed to do? Have me pinned up against the car.
Now, you were free enough with your hands. Being pinned against the car is somebody touching you, pinning you against you. You were free enough to slap him, and according to you, hand accidentally got him in his neck in his boil.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he reacted to that, you bit him. And when he reacted to you biting him for about, according to you, a minute on the hand.
Oh, no, it was only like a second. It wasn't
A second?
minute. Yeah, it happened really fast. Like,
The whole thing happened really fast.
Yeah, I mean,
well, if that
whole...
took a second, how long did it take for him to punch you in the eye?
A second.
A second. The whole thing took a second.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing took a second. Who do you think started it?
I believe he did, because he was supposed to bring me all my stuff a long time ago.
Okay, Mr. Rucker. I'm finished with her. Now you. Go. 25th, she's escorted off your property because she's trying to burglarize your house. That's the first thing. Now we're going to get to the 26th. Start talking.
Okay, on the 26th, I agreed to meet with her at my mother's house, and I was already at my mother's house by probably like 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and she said that she was still in Manitowoc or somewhere, and she was in traffic, and she'll be there shortly. And I'm not going to just sit there and wait for somebody to come. Like, I'm in Milwaukee. I'm usually in Manitowoc, chilling where it's bored. If I'm there, I'm in school. I'm in the weight where I'm playing basketball.
I have other cases
You have
to
other
do today,
cases?
Mr. Rucker.
All right.
Okay, so what she did was she sort of jerked you around a little bit and left you cooling your heels at your mother's house.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it.
Okay, and then say around 6, 7 o'clock she finally arrives, and she was behind my mother's house. I met with her there. I have the DVD in my hand, and I go to give her the DVD. I'm thinking that as soon as I give it to her, it's over. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a next Friday movie. So I give it to her, and as soon as I go to hand it to her, she complains to me. She says, "Do you want to fight? Let's fight, let's fight." And I'm looking like, no, I don't want to fight with you. And she starts swinging. And, like, you know what I'm saying? She hits me in my boil, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got bit by a spider or whatever. And then I fling my hand out. It's dark, you know what I'm saying? So I don't see where my hand's going. She says that I hit her in her lip. And, yeah, I mean, I guess I hit her in her lip. And then she bites down on my arm. I still have the scar.
Can I see it?
Yes, ma'am. Do you want me to come up to you? Or?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Is that where she bit you?
Yes, ma'am.
Step back.
You're a very pretty woman. So I'll let you know that.
Mr. Rucker, actually, you were ahead of the game before that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Sarah Budney says ex-boyfriend Montriel Rucker punched her during a property exchange. Montriel claims Sarah struck him first.
Okay, go. So she bit you in the arm, you punched her in the eye, and that's why we're here.
I mean, yeah, I guess
That's why we're here.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Why do you think he's responsible for your medical bills?
I didn't cause him to go to the hospital.
So what?
I didn't headbutt his face or his
It doesn't
fist.
matter, madam. You assaulted him first.
Well, what else was I supposed to do? Like, where
What else were you
was I
supposed to do?
go?
Take your
Like,
DVD and leave. Take your DVD that you already put in the car, get yourself in the car, and leave. You were looking for a fight. You got it. You put your hands on him first, and you have a temper. Because you went to his house, he wasn't home, you tried to kick in the door, which is a burglary of his house, in order to get what you want. That shows me that's somebody who doesn't have any judgment and has a bad temper. Police already escorted you away from his house. I would do nothing to go near him again. Nothing. I would send somebody else, your friend, who you were with, say, do me a favor, drop me off at a McDonald's. Go to the house, pick up the DVD, which is very important to me. Pick up the DVD. I'll meet you back here. I'll get a cup of coffee. Were you with her that day?
My friend.
And you were driving, according to her. You were driving her car. So you could have dropped her off someplace and said, I don't want to see him. Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to see him. Just go pick up the DVD because you're the one who called him with your phone.
Yeah.
Right?
He was playing games with her.
I don't care if he was playing games with her. You don't think she was playing games?
How was I playing games?
Kind of, because, okay, like...
I'm not interested in what you have to say. She's already told me what happened that day. She assaulted him first. She's not allowed to assault him because she got the worst of the bargain. Doesn't mean she gets paid. You're supposed to keep your hands to yourself. Women are not supposed to hit men. Men are not supposed to hit women.
Well, wasn't it
but
intentional
a woman who gets hit because they're stronger usually can't come up and act like a crybaby and say, I got the worst of the deal. I may have hit him, but I didn't cause him to go to the hospital.
Well, I felt
What about the
threatened.
bite? Was that an intentional bite?
Yeah.
Goodbye. Go home.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Because, I wasn't intentionally trying to hit him.
I mean, it's like a love and hate relationship.
I felt threatened.
You know what I'm saying? The DVD incident was kind of petty.
There's plenty of other things involved. It's not even about the DVD.
I apologize for hitting her.
It's about my hospital bills. That's what it's about.
You know what I'm saying? For throwing my hand out that I'm not a bad guy at all.
And it's about the fact that I model.
I mean, but stuff happens. It's life.
And I'm stuck with this on my face for the rest of my life.
Welcome, Judge. Party's been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Mr. and Mrs. Kishiyama, you relocated from what city to what city?
We located from Hercules, California to Monterey Park, California.
According to your complaint, you enrolled your 2 children, ages 1 and 3, daycare.
That's correct.
When did you do that?
On July 9th.
How did you find Ms. Shubin's facility?
Online.
And Ms. Shubin, you are licensed?
Yes, ma'am.
By whom? The state of California?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been licensed by the state of California?
Since June.
So you were a relatively new licensee?
Yes, ma'am.
And what do you have to do to be licensed?
You have to take a class. It's a one-day class, and you have to go through all their testing, in the class, and you see films and answer a bunch of questions and everything.
But it's a one-day class,
right?
To become a licensed daycare provider.
After the class, then they come out to the facility, make sure everything's up to standard, and by state law, we have to have fire extinguishers.
So then they do an inspection of the facility.
Correct.
Do they certify you for a certain number of children?
Yes.
How many did they certify you for?
8.
How many people do you have working for you?
There was myself, my business partner Sally, and my daughter Misty.
As part of your one-day training, do you have any training with regard to being a mandatory reporter with regard to suspected child abuse or neglect?
Yes, ma'am.
Who teaches that class?
Social Services.
And being a mandated reporter requires you as a daycare provider to report immediately to the state any suspected child abuse or neglect that you see as a result of caring for children.
That's correct, ma'am.
That's what this case is about. You enrolled your 2 children with the defendant.
That's correct.
When the children were brought to her facility for the first time on July 9th, who dropped the children off?
I did.
Did you go into the facility at that time for the first time, or had you gone into the facility before?
We went there on July 6th.
When you went there on July 6th, did you take your 2 boys with you?
I did.
This is your complaint. Your complaint is that the defendant reported both you and your husband to the authorities with a report of suspected child abuse and neglect because both of your children had marks all over their body. It turns out that your children suffer from a condition called Mongolian spots, which is a condition that they were born with, and that, according to the little bit of research that I do, go away in time, but they are prevalent in babies. And based upon what I viewed when I actually looked up the definition of Mongolian spots, they do appear to be bruises. They are purplish, bluish in nature. They are usually on the lower extremities of the child. Correct?
Correct.
You saw those spots, you or one of your coworkers?
Correct.
And immediately made the report.
Actually, I waited because I wanted to speak to Margie first to see if she could give me some kind of an explanation because I didn't want to have to do what I had to do. She never returned my call, so I had to make the phone call to CPS.
I never received any phone calls.
You don't have to receive a phone call. As a matter of fact, it was the wrong thing for her to do to call you first. It actually was the wrong thing to do. You didn't have to receive a phone call.
But she actually knew about the Mongolians when we spoke on July 6th.
Don't tell me what she knew, Ms. Kashimaya. Tell me what you told her.
On July 6th, when we spoke in regards to the fees of $200 for my 2 children, I did mention to her that my...
Just a second.
Yes.
You discussed the fee, and was this in person?
This was over the phone.
Over the phone, then. You mentioned, is what you said. Tell me what you mentioned to her.
I mentioned my 2 children have Mongolian spots.
And what did she respond to that?
She didn't say anything.
She didn't say anything. She didn't say, what is that?
No.
Could you describe it?
No.
I don't believe you. Don't believe you. I'm going to tell you why I don't believe you. I don't have to tell you how old I am in decades, but I'm older than she is, and I'm probably older than the 2 of you are put together. I had never heard of Mongolian spots until I read your case. So if a daycare, my children suffer from a condition that's called Mongolian spots, somebody who is operating even on a partial cylinder would have said, what is that? And if I took the children with me, I would have said, this is what Mongolian spots look like. I just want to let you know so that you are not alarmed when you have to change a diaper, change clothes. You didn't do that.
Miss Shubin wasn't at the premises.
Who was there?
Sally.
Doesn't make any difference. Any of them. She doesn't have to be there. She could be there. And you spoke to her. And you said, if you thought it was important, not just a mention, you would have said, by the way, this is what Mongolian spots look like, because it looks like an infant has been beaten. That's what they look like, right?
That's correct.
That's correct. That looks like somebody has beaten a child, unless you know what it is. So what you're looking for is $5,000 because of the stress that they put you through by calling CPS, Child Protective Services. That's what your complaint wants. Right?
And also because she was unlicensed, and she said she was licensed.
Just a minute.
Sure.
Were you or were you not licensed?
Yes, we were licensed.
Show me she wasn't licensed. You have your license?
Actually, what they issue is what they call a facility number.
That's all right. Just show it to me. What are you showing me?
I'm showing a complaint that I made through the facility Department of Child Care Services. And it's showing that she was not licensed on July 9th.
Well, this is the application.
Right, and it gives the facility number on it. And also, may I add, Your Honor, in the city of El Monte, unless you have more than 7 children, you're not required to have a license.
Doesn't matter.
We wanted to do it anyway.
Doesn't matter. I'm just asking you whether you were licensed or not. Not that it's dispositive, because that's not what your complaint is.
Right.
Your complaint is not that she was unlicensed, even if she was unlicensed. Your complaint is that she called in a report of suspected child abuse. Is that right?
That's right, but she still did not call me in regards to her negligence.
What negligence?
My children were crying throughout the day.
Who cares? That's what happens when
And
you
he
drop
also
off children for the
urinated in
first
his
time in a
pants.
daycare. So
He also urinated in his pants. I have not gotten any welfare calls from Ms. Shubin.
listen to me. I read your complaint. Your complaint has 2 different parts of what she did wrong. A, that your children were crying all day. Actually, you don't know that, but it's possible. You drop off children for the first time in his new daycare, they cry. And your little boy who's 3 wet his pants. That's the second problem that you had. Your problem with her was she reported you to Child Protective Services.
And she did not give me a phone call
She
whatsoever.
doesn't have to call you. She should not call you. If you believe that a child has been abused, you don't call the suspected abuser and say, by the way, I think you abused your children. I'm calling Child Protective Services. You don't give them an opportunity to come and pick up the children.
Out of courtesy, she could have called me. Because he could have fallen off the bike and it could be a bruising that way. Unfortunately, it was not that, but...
Listen to me carefully. She should not have called you. No courtesy involved here. If you suspect that a child, and I've looked at these Mongolian spots and they look horrendous.
I have pictures of that.
Well, I looked at them. They look horrendous. And if I saw them on a 1-year-old without an explanation, and I don't believe you gave her any explanation, because mentioning, which I don't believe you did, mentioning that my children suffered from Mongolian spots, and the defendant doesn't say, what is that? Is ridiculous. She did what she was supposed to. She wasn't supposed to call you. If she did call you, it was a big mistake. I would have cited her if she called you, if I were the state suspected abuser. Do you understand?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Say former daycare provider Phyllis Shubin falsely accused them of child abuse. The plaintiffs claim Phyllis mistook their children's skin condition for bruises.
Now, did you ever hit your children?
No, Your Honor.
Well, I would suggest that if you want to put your children in daycare, you take them in, strip them down, say, this is my doctor's information. These are called Mongolian spots. If you wish to call the children's pediatrician will verify that these marks are not as a result of any maltreatment. That's what I would do if I were a thinking parent, not blame her. She did what she was supposed to do. And after she did what she was supposed to do, you were visited by protective services. And when you were visited by protective services, did you provide protective services with your doctor's information?
Yes, I did.
Yes, that's what you should have done with her.
She didn't question it. I thought she knew what it was.
You can't tell me what you thought. Let me explain to you what mandating reporting is. Mandated reporting of suspected child abuse in this country, all over this country, is meant to protect children. It doesn't say to a non-professional, she is a non-professional, you make a judgment as to whether or not this is child abuse or a medical condition. It says when you suspect child abuse, you are mandated by law, and if you don't, you can go to jail. You are required to report it. And we don't second-guess mandatory reporters. If we did, people would say, listen, if I could get sued, I'm not going to make a phone call. Let somebody else do it. Don't you understand that? She was protecting your children. She was
negligent on her part of taking care
She
of my
was
children.
protecting your children. She was not negligent. She was protecting your children. You think there was something spiteful in her reporting to Child Protective Services?
I do, because my child urinated in his pants, and
There
he
is
was
something
crying
wrong
throughout the
with
day.
you.
And I haven't
There
gotten
is
any
something
phone call.
wrong with you.
It's the first day he was there. She should have called.
Something wrong with you. A 3-year-old wets his pants, and you think that that's negligent?
When they don't change them, it is.
It's your problem. She did the right thing. You did the wrong thing. You subjected both yourself, your husband, and your children to Child Protective Services because you didn't make it crystal clear to the defendant that these Mongolian spots were a result of a physical condition. That was your job to do, to strip them down when they got there and say, this is what they look like, this is my doctor's name, these are their medical records, this is what it looks like. Your fault, not her fault. Stop blaming her. Your fault. Your fault you had the aggravation. Your fault you had Child Protective Services come to your house. Not her fault. She's a mandatory reporter, and I don't believe you told her.
I did.
Don't believe it. Don't believe it for 1 second. When your child suffers from the kind of condition your children suffer from, not one, both, a thinking person will say, here are two kids that are getting pummeled from somewhere. So she was protecting your children. You should say thank you. I don't think that they got it before. Maybe she gets it now. If she had her listening ears on, maybe she got it now. But I guarantee you this, that the next daycare provider that she took her children to, she stripped them down to show them the spots, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did. So you were taught a good lesson. That's what you should have done before. Your fault you didn't. Stop blaming everybody else for your mistake. So she called in an investigation on your facility.
Yes, ma'am.
She's allowed to do that. She didn't do it because she was being vindictive, because she had some sort of romance with somebody in your family. She did it because she said you called Child Protective Services on her for no reason, and she felt as if her family and her children were placed at risk because of that, and she felt that you were unprofessional. That was her feeling. She may have been wrong, but you don't get paid for that. Your case is dismissed. Do you understand why?
Yes.
Perfect. That's all. Good luck.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I changed the baby first, and I noticed there was bruises, and it kind of bothered me. And when the little boy peed his pants, he had the same bruises.
On the application, there's even a section for her to note if there's any kind of medical problems, and she put none. So I had to assume what I assumed.
Make sure you advise your provider of all the markings or any bruising or any birthmarks prior to,
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Fewen versus Hastings Hauser. Step forward.
Nicole Fewen is suing her ex-boyfriend, Corey Hauser and his sister, Christina Hastings, for a loan to pay Christina's property taxes.
You're Miss Fewen?
I am.
You're Hastings?
Yes.
Miss Hastings, why did you need money?
My brother asked her for the money to get a tag.
I didn't ask. I said, why did you need money?
To get a tag on my car.
When had you purchased the car?
Probably about 20 days before then.
And what did you have to do in order to tag your car?
I had to pay the taxes on my house and then tag the vehicle.
So first you had to pay the taxes on your
Yes.
house? And how much were the taxes on your house?
I think they were about $900.
And how much were the tags for the vehicle?
I think they were right around $200. I don't have the exact amount.
Right around $200?
Right.
And who do you live with?
I own my home. I live with myself, and my brother lives with me.
Who else lives there?
My children.
How many?
3.
What would happen if you didn't pay the taxes on your house?
I wouldn't have tagged the car.
So you needed to do both?
Right.
And you didn't have the money. Hauser.
Yes, Your Honor.
So when your sister, and this is a house where you live as well,
Yes,
said, I don't have money to pay taxes, and I don't have money to tag my car, what did you do?
I told her I would see what I could do to try and get the money.
And what did you do to see what you could do?
I asked my friend and I asked my girlfriend if we could borrow the money.
What was the name of the friend that you asked if you could borrow the money?
His name's Jason.
What did Jason say?
He hadn't gotten back to me yet. He was working, and so I asked her.
So he didn't answer you?
Not right away. Right.
Did he ultimately answer you?
Yes.
And did he lend you any money?
Yes, he did.
How much?
He loaned me $1,000.
When did he give you $1,000? Date?
Around the 6th, I believe.
I would know when somebody
May
gave me
6th.
$1,000.
Around May 6th.
Jason hadn't gotten back to you, so you called your girlfriend. And what did you say to her?
I texted her and asked her if what her stipulations would be for loaning somebody $1,200.
And what did she say?
She said they would have to pay me back by a certain time.
And what did you say?
I said, okay, well, here's the situation. We need this money to pay the taxes and tags on the car and everything. Is there any way that we could borrow the money from you?
And what did she say?
She said, yeah, I guess that's fine. Would you like to meet me for lunch and we can go to the bank and do what we need to do there?
And?
We went to meet her. While in transit to go meet her, I got a phone call from my buddy Jason, and he told me that he would loan me the money.
And that was on the same date, on
Same
May
date.
6th.
Yes.
So what happened?
We go to meet her for lunch, and I told her when we got there that we only needed to borrow about $200 because he had loaned me money. And
Well, you hadn't picked it up from him yet.
I hadn't picked it up from him yet, no. She said, that's fine, however you want to do it. We don't have to go to the bank. She had $200 cash on her. She gave us the cash, and we started to make payments.
Miss Few, okay, I'm sorry.
So anyways, we made an arrangement to where we would be able to make the payments back to her on installments because we didn't have it all at one time. And she said, that's fine.
She happened to have the $200 with her?
Cash on her, yes.
So you didn't have to go to the bank?
Right.
I do believe it's page 5 or 6.
By the way, what time did you go for lunch?
I don't remember.
Think
12
about
and
it.
noon.
Think about it.
It was somewhere between 12 and 2.
Lunch with her?
Yes.
This was in March. This was in March. Not May, March. Now, I would like to see when you got your car tagged.
I don't have that with me.
Then you had to pay your
It was
taxes
in
on
March.
Was in March?
Yes.
Yeah. Are you chewing gum?
Yes, sorry.
Get rid of it. She had her car tagged in March, and she paid her taxes in March. What value was it for your friend Jason to give you $1,000 in May?
That was my mistake, Your Honor.
It was big deal your mistake.
Yes, it was.
It was a big deal your mistake. You owe her $1,200. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
All right, sir, excuse. You may step out.
She's a lying little... Yeah, she knows what she did.
She's crazy. She's psycho.
They're lying, and they know they're lying.
She kept claiming to be pregnant.
He's trying to use this whole I thought I was pregnant thing when I specifically told both of them I was not pregnant.
Definitely creepy, and that's why we're not together anymore.
What else do they have to go on? They know they're wrong and that they have...
Stuart, you rented a room from the defendant and paid him in advance for your first month's rent, and it is your claim that his behavior and the behavior of he and his girlfriend as a couple forced you to move out of the room within a few days, and you want your money back.
Right.
When did you move in?
I gave the check to him on February 6th, and on February 7th, I started to move in.
How much did you give him?
I gave him a check for $250.
And describe the property that you moved into. Was it a house? Was it an apartment?
It was a house.
Who else lived there?
He and his girlfriend, and then one other person, I can't recall his name.
Who else lived there?
My nephew.
How long have you and your girlfriend lived in the house?
I'd lived there 4 months prior to her coming in.
Okay. Would you describe Mr. Williams' conduct that, according to you, forced you to move out early?
Well, it was during the time I was moving in, it was the way he treated some of his animals.
What kind of animals?
Dogs.
What kind of dogs?
Pit bulls, 2 pit bulls and a lab.
Explain to me what you saw.
Well, the female was chained up and not fed.
She's a liar.
I don't want you to speak until I look at you.
Okay.
Was not fed well. She wasn't healthy, and she was just a puppy and just basically used as a breeder so that he could make money off of the puppies. But
were there puppies there?
No, but she was just a puppy herself and just not treated well like the other 2 dogs.
That was a pit bull?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So that got me, worried too, and I thought, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to keep trying. So I stayed a couple of days, and when I finally got the last load moved in, I came home, and him and his girlfriend were fighting because she was getting too many text messages.
Describe the fight. Where did it take place?
In the kitchen.
And the kitchen is a common room?
Yes.
Well, tell me about the fight. Tell me what you heard.
Well, I just walked in, and they were yelling because she was getting too many text messages, and he said, everybody get... And so I turned around, and I was walking out the door, and as I was walking out the door, I heard him slap her and her say, ouch, and he can say whatever he wants, but I heard that, and when I left, I texted her and asked her if she was okay, and he texted me back, and I have copies of the text messages.
I'd like to see them.
Your Honor, this woman is lying right now. Straight lying.
I texted you. Are you okay?
I'll get to you.
Okay.
Oh, you sent her a nasty response to her question.
Yes, I did.
When she was asking
Because
your girl, hey, don't speak when I'm speaking.
All right, I apologize. I get upset when somebody's lying about me, though, Your Honor.
They didn't lie about you, sir. You sent this text message. She asked your girlfriend, quiet. She asked your girlfriend, are you okay? And then she texted her again, and she says, call me if you ever need anything. Keep the baby safe. You hear me? That's what she said to her. And you wrote back, why would you text and ask if she was okay? Well, she was texting to ask if she was okay, sir, because according to her, and according to your answer, which you and your girlfriend were fighting.
Yes, ma'am, we were.
So that when she says, why would you ask if she was okay, that's the reason. And then you say to her, will you mind your own business in my blank house?
That's right.
If you cause problems, you'll be the blank out. That's a nasty text message.
Well, she was slandering me because I do not hit women.
Just a second.
I never said he did.
You just said I slapped her.
No. She never accused you in the text messages that I just read of hitting her. She just says, are you okay?
Okay.
And if you need anything, just keep the baby safe.
You okay?
In response to that, you responded to her with a profane,
yes, ma'am,
laced...
I did. Yes,
why?
Because the reason that me and the girl was arguing, because I came home and she's pregnant and she was drunk. Not because she got text messages, because she was drinking alcohol. And then this woman, right?
Just a second. So the reason you were fighting with your girlfriend is because you came home and found her drunk.
Drunk, pregnant.
Drunk.
Not my child, but she was still pregnant. She was pregnant previous to her and I getting together.
Well, how long had she been your girlfriend?
Just like a month.
This sounds like a terrific story.
It was a horrible story. It's a horrible story. And this woman comes into my house.
Story. She what?
She came to my house and I'm an electrical contractor.
I don't care what you do for a living.
I'm trying to explain how we got together here.
I don't care how you got together.
Well,
there's only one issue here.
Okay.
And the issue is whether, based upon lots of things, including the text message from you, which says, cause problems, you'll be the blank out. Would I get out of that house? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't stay with you for another minute.
If she'd have minded her own business, she didn't even have a clue what I was angry about. I'm not going to stand there and let a pregnant woman drink and not get upset about that, Your Honor.
Let me tell you something. You're not the pregnancy police.
I am when it's in my house.
No, sir. You're
And this
not
woman
the
leaves
listen
my
to
home,
me. You're
leaves
not
drug pipes
you don't
in my
try
house.
don't try to talk over me,
I'm not.
sir.
I'm just trying to tell you
Don't
the
try to
truth of
talk
what it
over
is.
me. You're not going to be successful.
I'm not trying to, ma'am. I respect
Well, you are
you.
talking. You're
and-
talking
and-
over me. You see how you're still talking when I am?
Yes, ma'am.
If my landlord, with whom I shared a kitchen, used the language that you used in here, I would feel threatened and I would move out.
Okay, that would be your choice.
Just a second. That would be my choice, inspired by your bad behavior. That's the whole issue here. Whether this message that you sent to her was sufficient basis for her to move out, break your 1 month lease, because that's what you had, a month-to-month lease.
2 months.
We had a month-to-month lease. You have a lease in writing?
No,
No,
ma'am.
then you have a month-to-month lease, and the main issue is if she's entitled to her rent back.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, it was her choice to leave, but I think she'd be crazy if she didn't leave.
Your Honor, can I explain my side of what happened now? Because she told you the faults of everything. I'm telling you, I did send those texts because I was off because of her interference, right? And
Just a
slandering
second.
me.
Just a second.
saying-
I just want you to get to, she walks into the kitchen and you are fighting with your girlfriend who was pregnant with somebody else's child because she came home and found that she had been drinking alcohol.
Absolutely.
And you felt as if you had the right, under those circumstances, because she was under your roof, to fight with her. That's what you just explained to me.
Exactly.
She comes home. Take it from there.
Okay, she came home. I didn't want nobody to know for the other girl's sake of what we were arguing about. I was embarrassed for her, let alone being angry. So I told everybody, I need 10 minutes in my house. Go outside, right? 10 minutes, I need to talk to her. Okay, she didn't I gave this woman my room, my because my friend that owns a real estate company.
Listen, this is not Dr.
Okay.
Phil. Just get to the
All right.
story.
Well, I gave her my room, and she wasn't moving. I said, this means you too. Go outside. And then when she texted her, first she called and said, I heard him hit you. I said, I don't know where you're from and what kind of men you hang out with, but where I'm from, my mother didn't raise me to hit women, especially pregnant women. I've never put my hands on a woman in my life. I did raise my voice, and I was off because I don't feel that a woman that is pregnant should be drinking. This woman right here was in her bedroom smoking crank, and that's what her problem is. Her problem is that she's a drug addict, and she's a liar and a manipulator. She was supposed to pay me the 2 months because her house was in escrow. My friend that owns the...
Listen,
and
you're
I asked
going
her for
too
the other
far.
$250.
You're going too far,
Right,
sir.
it goes to the
All
money.
she's suing you for, she wants her rent back.
Well, she don't deserve her rent back because she chose to leave. And yes, because she interfered where she shouldn't
All
have.
right, Mr. Williams, let me explain something to you, sir. She paid you $250 for her room. You can't tell her to go outside of her home for 10 minutes,
Out of
10
the
seconds, out of the kitchen. You can't tell her to go out of the house for 10 minutes, 10 seconds, 10 milliseconds, so that you can continue to fight with your girlfriend.
I wasn't
You don't
fighting.
have that. Oh, yes.
I was yelling and asking her what she was thinking, drinking,
Is
pregnant.
you the girlfriend?
No, she's
Where's
not.
the girlfriend? Who are you?
I'm his girlfriend now.
Good luck to you. You got the whole picture. So I wish you good luck. You get your $250 back, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step up. This is a drug addict woman right here?
Absolutely not.
They couldn't tell the truth if it hit her in the face?
He beats his girlfriend.
She's a liar and a slanderer?
I tried to keep out of his business with it, but
She don't know how to mind her own business.
I had to find out if she was okay.
I will never have a roommate. People.
Because he's hitting his pregnant girlfriend.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Silva versus Thurman.
Amanda Silva is suing her ex-boyfriend, Marion Thurman, for loans for towing fees, car repair costs, and child support payments.
Ms. Silva, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours, and it is your claim that he owes you some money.
Yes, Your Honor.
What do you think he owes you money for?
Several bills.
Like
what? Child support payment.
Okay, well, let's start with the child support payment. When did you make a child support payment for him?
January, back in 2011.
How much?
$655.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding you paying that child support.
Mr. Thurman had called me January.
You didn't live together?
No, we did not. January 2011 stated that I needed to come and get him because his car had been impounded. So
why was your car impounded, Mr. Thurman?
I had an issue with
military and my school. So during that time, I had missed a payment, and therefore it suspended my license.
They don't suspend your license if you miss one child support payment, sir. I was sat in family court for 15 years. It takes them years.
Yeah, I was just discharged from the military, and for some time I was unemployed for
So you didn't pay child support for a while?
several months. I was unemployed.
Okay. She paid off the $655 that you owed in child support so you could get your car out of impound?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay her back?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
When did you pay her back?
From the months of April to October 2011, I gave her anywhere from $200 to $300 a month.
Well, that $655 would have been paid off very quickly. Did you take any other money from her?
Yeah, it was some other things that went down.
Like what?
At this time, I'm not totally
Well,
sure.
why don't you tell me, Ms. Silva? Go ahead.
I had paid his car impound, which was $1,005.
Okay, well, that was in addition to the child support?
Exactly, that's what it was.
Okay, so that's the additional amount of money. Good. Now he says he paid you back.
And he did. I have a record here of all the payments that he made. He paid me for the majority of the impound of $1,005, all of it but $150.25.
Okay, so he did pay you back. Good for you. Okay, and what about the child support payment?
I have not received any money from the child support, no.
You have any records, Mr. Thurman?
During that time, I never asked for anything. She offered to help me. We're in a relationship.
All right, but you were paying her back. You paid her back almost all of it except $805. What else?
He was tight financially with his money and asked me to pay a portion of his rent of $341.
I never asked her for anything.
Not happening. What's next?
Okay. I had leased him a vehicle.
When?
March of 2011, and he did. I was under the agreement as long as he had made the payments and he would be responsible for any damages to the car, that I would go ahead and lease him.
Why would you do that?
A vehicle.
That's ridiculous.
I was building a relationship with this man.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
He was
you
under
don't do
financial.
That. Anyway, you did it. And did he make the payments on the vehicle?
He did.
So,
but there
what does he owe you?
There were damages done to the car. It was impounded, and the damages were $477.05.
Let me see. When was the car impounded? Is that the impound for the
I also have
child
the receipt.
support?
No.
No, this is
when
an
was it
additional
impounded
one.
again?
2012.
For what?
Unpaid traffic tickets.
The chargeable wear and tear was $477.05.
Repossessed the vehicle.
That's fine.
She wanted the car back.
That's okay.
I could have taken care of all of that.
Listen, it's the same $477 whether you pay it to the company that leased you the car or you pay it to her and she pays them. What difference does it make to you?
It's no difference, but
Great.
She asked for $3,000.
No, she's not going to get $3,000.
Okay.
She's going to get what they say was the wear on the car. They always find something wrong with a leased car.
Very well.
Okay, so either you have to pay the leasing company or her. It doesn't make any difference to you, right? Good. Love it. 1282. Now you could be friends. Now you could be friends, and you don't have a car between you, which is very smart. You don't have any contracts. You don't have any debts or obligations. Are you current in your child support?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,282. Go be happy.
Parties are excused when they step out.
Fortunately, it just didn't work out.
Things happen.
Unfortunately, it's
hard to bring two people together in a relationship.
Was not able to happen between the two of us.
No reason to.
Just to be careful.
Have any hard feelings.
I was thankful that Judge Judy was able to help us.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Cowan versus Castro. Step forward, please.
Michaelin Cowan is suing ex-landlord Yosefi Paul Castro for the return of belongings left behind after he locked her out of the house.
What's your name, sir?
Jeffrey.
All right, Miss Cowan, you had a boyfriend whose name was Kirk.
Yes.
Kirk knew the defendant.
Correct.
And lived in the defendant's house.
Correct.
Had a room?
Yes.
You moved in with your boyfriend Kirk.
Yes.
Kirk was there first.
No.
You moved in together.
Yes, ma'am.
And you moved in together with the understanding that he was supposed to pay you rent?
Yes.
How much?
$500 per month.
Did he ever pay you?
Just the first month.
And when did they move in?
I believe it was last June.
June of 2011.
Yes.
Well, it seems that this whole thing with Kirk didn't work out because he was arrested for domestic violence. I assume that you were the victim of that domestic violence, and Kirk was taken away. You stayed.
Yes.
And you stayed, according to you, with the understanding that you would be a babysitter. Is that right?
No, Your Honor.
Tell me what the understanding was, Mr. Castro.
She did not have a place to stay, so she asked me to stay there for a little longer.
A little longer?
Correct. Babysit. I told her no, she cannot, because I did have a babysitter at the time. In one occasion, she wanted to be a babysitter, and I said, fine, today you can stay and do babysitting, but she never showed up. She was out the whole night with her boyfriend, and she never came back.
With the new boyfriend, who would be Jeff?
Correct.
Did she ever pay you any rent?
No.
In what month did Kirk go to jail?
September.
And in what month did you evict her?
Kirk went to jail prior to September.
When did he go to jail?
I believe it was in July or beginning of August.
Okay. In what month did you evict her?
It was right after that, about 2 weeks after that.
2 weeks after he was out of the house.
Correct.
How long, Miss Cowan, did you stay after Kirk went to jail?
Kirk went to jail September 17th. I stayed there until October.
How much rent did you pay him to stay in his house?
I didn't give him any money.
Money. So the answer is you did not pay him.
My services were rendered.
No, you didn't render any services to him.
Okay. I nannied for him.
Yeah.
Okay. I was the one to potty train his son.
That's not true.
Shh.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Michael Cowan says ex-landlord Paul Castro refuses to return belongings she left behind after he kicked her out of his home. Paul claims he has none of her possessions.
He told you to leave. Why?
He never asked me to leave. Never asked me personally to leave. I had the police show up there. Few occasions, there was 4 times that the police had to show up there to let me back in the home where my items were still.
Listen to my question. You say that he evicted you. That's what you say. He locked me out of the house.
He did.
Without evicting me or serving me with a pay or quit notice.
Without evicting me.
Just a second. On what date did he throw you out of the house?
He locked me out of the house because I had been gone. I came home to a changed lock on the front door. That was in September.
Now, this case is about your property. Property that you say belongs to you, that he has.
Yes, ma'am.
And there were 4 times, according to what you just told me, that the police came with you to retrieve property. Give me the dates.
There was one date, first.
10/31.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Where were you the whole month of October?
He wouldn't answer his phone to me.
Where were you the whole month of October?
I was staying with him.
Well,
he wouldn't answer his phone.
Listen to me carefully. You got the police to go with you October 31st.
Yes, ma'am.
How did you do that?
I called them.
That's right. And you could have called them October 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th.
I was
6th,
calling
7th, 8th,
them.
9th, 10th, 11th, all the way up to the 31st.
Your Honor, I was calling them on a daily basis to find out what else I could do.
All right. All right. So that's October 31st.
They also came out 11:15.
So you went there with the police on October 31st and you took some of your property, right? Yes.
Yes, what they would allow.
And then you went back on what date?
I went back on 11:15.
November 15th.
No, 11:15.
November.
Yes.
It's 11.
Okay.
November is 11. Now, what took you between October 31st and November 15th to go back for more of your stuff?
The police had made the statement on October 31st that I needed to make arrangements with Mr. Yosefi to come back. He wouldn't answer any emails, which I have
So now
emails.
you called the police again. So now
Yes.
we have the drill back and you called the police again November 15th.
Yes.
And you went back with them and you took more of your stuff.
No.
No. When was the next time you went back there?
In December.
December what?
December 26th.
I'm getting to the 4 times you went with the police. So far I have 3. Okay, did you take any of your stuff in December?
No, ma'am. They
Why
wouldn't
not?
let me. They wouldn't have let me because Mr. Cosgrove had mentioned to them that there was nothing else of mine there.
Right. Okay.
But they
That's what
came
he
out
said.
with a box of pictures.
That's what he said. He said, nothing else of yours there.
Right.
Now, what is it that you claim that he has that belongs to you?
Everything I
Okay.
owned.
Yeah.
Everything I owned was in that house. I have an itemized list right here. Everything I owned was in that home, besides the couple of boxes that I was able to take out when the police stood by.
Start with number 1. What was it that you owned?
A bed, a king-size bed.
Show me the bill for the bed.
I don't have a bill.
No bed. What's next?
All my receipts were in the home.
Listen to me carefully. You have to prove he said you had no other property there. You went there with the police on 4
Yes, Your Honor.
occasions. He said
And they
you
saw
took,
it.
Listen to me carefully. He says that you moved in with Kirk. He got rid of all the stuff after a month or more, and he put it outside, and Kirk's ex-wife came and picked up whatever furniture there was.
Oh,
there.
really?
That's what you said. Is that right? Now, I want to see anything that you have a receipt for that you left in his house from September until January.
I don't have any receipts, Your Honor. They were all in my home.
Then
in a filing cabinet.
Then I would suggest that that would be one of the things that you would take when you went there with the police.
I was taking clothes, you know, clothing.
What are you sleeping
necessities?
On? What are you sleeping on now with Jeff?
A bed.
So you have a bed. What else?
Okay, I need my pictures of my son, his birth certificate.
Just a second. Do you have pictures of her son?
No, Your Honor.
Do you have his birth certificate?
No, Your Honor.
Doesn't have it. What's
okay,
next?
What about all my CDs, my flatware?
Just a second.
Kitchen
Do you
set.
have her CDs?
No, Your Honor.
Do you have her flatware?
No.
Did you give it away?
No.
Did you ever see her flatware?
No.
What
he
else?
was using it. He
What
was
else?
using my Tefal cook set in his kitchen.
What else?
Everything I own, my underwear,
I
my
can't help
bras,
you.
my
Miss
drinking
Cowan,
glasses,
I can't help you.
my Swiffer mop, my cleaning products.
Can't help you.
Proactive for my face.
You have a police report that says that he refused to give you your stuff?
I do have.
Police report.
They didn't make reports.
Can't help you.
They didn't make reports.
Listen
I called
to me.
one of the
Be a big
detectives that
girl.
came out. He
Be
said
a big
no.
girl. When you live someplace, you pay rent. You moved in, you paid this man no rent. You moved in with Kirk. Police were called to that house, and you have custody. Were called to that house because of domestic violence with regard to you and Kirk. You stayed. Then, according to both of you, you were supposed to pick the child up once from school.
Meet him at the bus stop.
Right? And instead of you getting him, you sent him.
He showed up to meet him at the bus. I was 15 minutes behind him. I called his cell phone. He did not answer.
Care.
Okay, well, I'm just telling you I did.
Miss Cowan, get a job, get all new furniture. Can't help you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Please excuse me, step out.
It just shows me what kind of people are out there.
I really don't know what's in her mind.
Not to trust people what they say.
She was definitely lying about everything that she said.
Because the man's a liar.
Never trust people without
I'm completely just done with this.
looking back into the background.
I'm glad it's over.
Well, it was correct, and
I will not let it happen again.
justice was done.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Daggett versus Stone. Step forward.
Stephen Daggett is suing motorist Nathan Stone for damage to his car after Nathan collided with his 16-year-old daughter, Grace.
Which one of you two young ladies was driving? Why don't you stand up? Mr. Daggett, this is your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
And you weren't there when this accident took place. Your daughter was driving. She's a relatively new driver. And it is your claim that the defendant is responsible for the accident that occurred. Defendant says that's not true. He wasn't responsible. Your daughter was responsible for the accident. Now, on what date did the accident take place?
March 13th.
And your first name is?
Grace.
Grace, the car with the letter P on it is your car.
Yes.
And you were driving down, according to your complaint and according to that diagram, County Road 47?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you, Mr. Stone, were driving your truck. You have a truck?
Yes, Your Honor.
Driving down Pine Street.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I see, Mr. Stone, that you have a stop sign.
Yes, Your Honor.
So why don't you go over there, Mr. Stone, and tell me what happened when you went through the stop sign?
Yes, Your Honor. Well, this is wrong to begin with. What happened is I was at the stop sign right here on Pine. I was at a full stop.
Point to where? Point to where your truck was.
I was right here. I was at the stop sign.
Right.
There was a truck in the turn lane, but it wasn't all the way in the turn lane. Part of it was actually out on the road.
Out on the road? You mean in the road?
Well, I mean in the other lane, Your Honor. So it
Okay.
was kind of in between the turn lane and the street.
So it was not all the way turned?
It wasn't all the
but
way
was...
in the turn lane, Your Honor. So I looked, and I saw that he was there, so I assumed that there was no traffic that could get behind him. He was blocking half the road. So I pulled out to go around him. Well, she must not have been paying attention.
Don't tell me what she must
okay,
not have been
I
doing.
apologize. I apologize.
Listen to me. Just tell me, you assumed that nobody was behind him.
I didn't. Well, even if somebody was, I assumed that they couldn't get around him without having to go around, across the center line on a highway.
You
to go
assumed
around
that?
him. Yes, Your Honor.
You
so
assumed
I
that?
went out around, and that's when she hit me.
Oh, really? When you have a stop sign, now let me ask you this question. You can go back now. Because I was curious about who had a stop sign. You would not have collided with the plaintiff's car if you had waited for that car to make the truck to make its turn, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So if you had waited perhaps another 10 seconds, we wouldn't have had an accident.
But I didn't think that anybody could
I don't
get
care
around
what
the
you
truck.
thought. You thought wrong because you have a stop sign. So if you had waited for that truck and didn't say, well, there couldn't have been anybody behind them because then they would have had to go around and go over the yellow line, coulda, woulda, shoulda. If you would have waited, you wouldn't have had to guess. That's what the stop sign is for, Mr. Stone.
But she should have saw me sitting there and saw me pulling out.
No. She doesn't have a stop sign. You have a stop sign. That's what the stop sign is for. You're supposed to wait until it's totally clear. And it wasn't clear because your view of her car was blocked by the truck that was turning. Is that a fair statement? That's a fair statement. Your view of her car was blocked by the truck that was turning. Let us remove from the equation, Mr. Stone, the fact that there was a truck turning, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Take that truck out of the equation.
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you have seen her car?
Yes, Your Honor.
Of course. So, if you had waited for the truck to turn, you would have seen her car.
That's a possibility, Your Honor.
No, that's not a possibility. You just told me that you would have seen it. I mean, unless you were blinking, unless you were looking at something else, you would have seen her car, because her car was clearly there, and she had the right of way.
Well, like I said, I didn't know that anybody could get behind the truck, which is why the truck was blocking the road, so that's why I went.
That's what you have a stop sign for, sir, so you don't have to guess. You wait until the impediment has passed that precludes you from seeing what's coming down the road, whatever it is. You wait for that car to pass, and if you don't, then you have to accept responsibility, and just because she's young doesn't mean she's wrong.
I feel she should have been paying attention.
You should have been paying attention. You should have stopped at the stop sign until it was clear. And if there was a police car that responded to that location, I guarantee you that that's what the police would have told you. Did they respond?
Yes, they did, Your Honor.
Did you have insurance?
I did not at that moment.
Well, that's the moment we're talking about. Why didn't you have insurance?
Because that day, the insurance had actually lapsed the day before I was going to actually sell the truck that day.
So you had no insurance?
For the one day, no.
Well, that's when she needed the insurance. Thank you. Oh, you hit her car, sir. She didn't hit your car. You could have killed them. Then you would have been in serious trouble, because it would have been your fault. And they would have taken your house and your car and your business and your income for the next 50 years. You blew a stop sign because you were thinking that it would be all right because there was nobody there. You should have waited the extra 10 seconds. Do you have an estimate for your car?
I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to see it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $32.69. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She should have been paying attention when I pulled out. She didn't pay attention. I got hit.
I think it was a fair decision. I think she's seen the truth, and that's the way it happened.
And if she didn't see me pulling out, she should have been able to slow down, let me get around, or whatever the case may be.
We were going down the street, and we got hit, so I had her pull over, and then she called her dad, and I took the phone from her because she was unable to talk to him. He told me to call the police, and I called the police.
She was crying. She's a 16-year-old little girl, new driver. What do you do?
Well, just because someone's young, it doesn't mean that they're in the wrong.
It happened, and there's nothing that can be done about it now, so.
Yeah, I've driven with her many times. She's a safe driver.
People need to learn how to drive.
People need to learn what stop sign means.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Peterson versus Mann. Step forward.
18-year-old Victoria Peterson is suing family friend Kay Mann for a bad money order she cashed on her behalf.
Miss Peterson, how do you know Miss Mann?
She is a family friend. My mother used to date her brother back a couple years ago.
How long do you know her?
Almost my entire life.
She asked you to cash a check for her?
Yes.
When was that?
On the 6th of April, 2012.
What kind of check was it?
It was a money order.
From whom?
From my children's father.
For how much?
$946.
All right, the story is not difficult. You cashed the money order at your bank because you didn't have a bank account?
That's correct.
Why don't you have a bank account?
Because I don't have one.
That's not an answer. You're an adult. Most adults have bank accounts.
I didn't have no desire to get a banking account.
Do you work?
No, I don't.
How do you support yourself?
I get Social Security.
How much?
$659 a month for me and $145 for my children.
And that's your only source of income?
That is.
So your children's father doesn't pay child support?
He does pay child support, Your Honor.
Well, then you have other money coming into your house. How much does he send you in child support?
I get $400 a month.
And how come your children get money from Social Security?
It's a dependency from my check.
Why do you get Social Security?
Because I have issues. I'm disabled. I can't work.
So you get Social Security disability?
That's correct.
Okay. So you cashed this check for $946 for her. You ultimately gave her the money.
Yes.
That she doesn't deny, correct?
That's correct.
Turned out the checks were bad. The bank now says, give me my money. So you spent it.
That's correct.
The money order was bad.
I didn't have no clue over that.
Well, so what? She cashed the check. You used the money on yourself, and somebody's out the money. It's not going to be her.
I had no control over that, Your Honor.
You spent the money.
Okay, but she should have took that up with the bank, not me.
You take it up with the bank. You take it up with the husband. You report him to the police, to the federal authorities for violation of the banking law, for sending you bad money orders. You do it, not her, because you spent the money. You spent the money feeding your face and your kids' faces and buying clothes, and I don't know what else you buy. But you spent the money. She didn't spend the money. You got the benefit from the bad check.
But I didn't know it was counterfeit. I had no control over it.
I want you to pay attention. Put on your listening ears. You're not hearing what I'm saying. I'm not saying you had control over it. I don't know whether you had control over it or not. And I don't care. You ate the money. You consumed the money. She got no benefit from the money. You got the benefit from the money. It came from you. Take care of it and deal with it. That's your problem. Don't visit your problem on anybody else. Miss Mann, you've already visited your problems on a lot of other people, including me as a taxpayer. But don't visit this problem on her. She's an innocent.
I'm innocent here because I had no control over the money order, Your Honor. I'm a victim just as well as she is.
You're a victim who ate the money. You used the money for what allegedly it was intended, which was for your children. They're not her children. They're your children.
That's correct.
So you feed them. That's what their mother is supposed to do.
And that's
I'm
what
not
I
supposed
do.
to feed your children.
I take care of my children.
Who takes care of your children? The federal government takes care of your children, and their father takes care of them. You do not take care of them.
I do take care of them. They're my care, Your Honor.
How do you feed them? With what?
I buy food to feed them.
With what?
My check.
What check?
My Social Security check.
Where do you get that from?
The government.
And who is the government?
Taxpayers.
Is the government. These people are the government. So if you got her embroiled in this little scam, which I believe is probably part of your life's work, you have to take it up with the bank, with the ex-husband, with the authorities. Do you work?
Yes, I do.
You don't work. You have nothing to do all day but take this matter up with your ex-husband, the bank, and whoever else you think is responsible. That's not her job. That's your job.
But the Bank of Texas said it was a legit money order. I asked Nicole Peterson originally to cash the check. We went.
How old are you?
41.
How old are you?
18.
Listen to me carefully. How many children do you have?
I have 4.
You have 4 children. She's 18 years old. You're supposed to be responsible, not an 18-year-old. Do you understand?
I do, Your Honor.
Well, you have not been terribly responsible for a good part of your life. In this case, you're going to be responsible. This 18-year-old doesn't get saddled with your problem. This $946 is your problem.
It's not my problem. It's
I'm making it your problem. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. They step out.
I checked my bank account 3 days after I gave her the money, and I was minus the $956.
I don't feel that it was all my fault.
I cried. I feel bad. I feel bad. Honestly, I thought she wasn't going to mess me over.
I did try to contact my children's father to tell him about the money order, and he said that he would take care of it.
I'm glad it's over with.
I didn't know that it was a bad money order, or I wouldn't have given it to her.
I trusted her.
Because they are my friends.
Kay is a friend of mine, and Victoria was nice enough to catch it for her. I'm never doing it again.
I hope we can still remain friends.
Is resulting from a car crash.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2054, Cardozo versus Jimenez Espinosa.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Cardoza, it is your claim that the defendants are responsible for an automobile accident.
Yes.
That both totaled your car and injured you and your child.
Yes, Your Honor.
When did this accident happen? What date?
On May 6th, Friday, 2022.
What time of the day?
It was around 7:10, 7:20 a.m.
Where were you going?
I was going to drop off my son to his babysitter.
Then where were you going?
Work.
Is that your regular route?
Yeah.
Your last name is?
Espinoza.
How old are you?
17.
You were driving that morning?
Yeah.
Yes, not an answer.
Yes.
Yes is an answer. Who was in the car with you?
My little sister.
How old is she?
11.
Do you have a driver's license?
Now I do, yeah.
Did you, on May 6th, have a driver's license?
No.
I assume you were taking your sister to school,
Yes.
and then you were taking yourself to school.
Yes.
This was in May. How long had you been driving your sister to school?
6 months.
Where was your mother?
At work.
Did you drop her off at work first?
No.
How does she get to work?
Her own car.
Who owns the car that you were driving?
My mom.
So your mom has 2 cars.
Yes.
What other adults live in your house?
Just my mom.
Your mother,
Yeah.
your sister,
Yeah.
and you.
Yeah.
When was the car purchased that you were driving with your sister?
It was a gift.
Who was it a gift to?
Me.
Whose name is it in?
My mom's.
When did you get it? Month and year. Don't speak to him. When did you get it?
January.
January of 2022.
Yes.
So that's why you had been driving your sister for 6 months.
Yes.
The car is in your name?
Yes, Your Honor.
You know that he has no right to drive a car.
He had a driver's permit.
I don't care if he had a permit. You know he has no right to drive a car. Blamed on this if you had insurance because he's not allowed to drive a car. Is that correct?
Yes.
What insurance carrier do you have on your car?
AAA.
Who insures the car that he was driving?
AAA.
On your name?
Yes.
When he had this accident, the insurance company, AAA, disclaimed on the accident because he was driving the car.
Yes.
Did they drop you from your policy? Did they drop your policy?
No.
Did they raise your rates?
No, because I was changing insurance at that time when the accident happened.
So you had no insurance?
We had insurance.
Just look at me. On the 6th of May, do you have proof that there was insurance on the car that he was driving?
Yes, Your Honor.
What carrier?
AAA.
And when did you change carriers?
It was May 5th, but it wasn't going to be effected until the following week.
So you had no insurance?
I hadn't called AAA to let them know that I was changing insurance at that time.
Again, I don't believe.
I was changing.
Just a second. You have to understand, madam, that to make your life more comfortable so that you could go to work and your little girl could get to school, you let an unlicensed driver drive a car. You have to understand that because he could have killed her and the child. It's outrageous that you let your 17-year-old who didn't have a license drive your 11-year-old daughter, put them in a place where they were in harm's way. You're just very lucky that both of them weren't hurt. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. If you think I'll start doing the wrong thing when you're 17 years old, when you're 27 years old, your mother will come visit you someplace where you don't want to be. Do you understand?
I smile when I'm nervous.
Excuse me?
I smile when I'm nervous.
You smile when you're nervous. Yeah. Well, your mother smiles when she's nervous too, because she was smiling too.
Yeah.
When you walked in here. What? You're not smiling now. You mean you're not nervous now? You're not smiling now. Now you're not nervous. Now I would be nervous. If I were you, I would be nervous. See what I mean?
Yeah.
No. Tell me what happened 7:30 in the morning on the 6th of May, which was a school day and a work day.
Okay, yes, Your Honor. So I was driving straight like normal on East, on Pleasant Valley. And as I was going on a green light into my intersection.
Do you have a photograph? Do you have any?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
And May 6th was a Friday, just so you know. May 6th was a Friday.
Yeah. Thanks. Your car is the red car?
Yes, Your Honor.
This doesn't tell me anything, actually. It just shows your car totally destroyed. Do you have a police report?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to see a police report.
Yeah, and I'll put it so she can kind of see my car, his car.
This is the diagram that the police prepared.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you were going straight,
Yes, Your Honor.
and he was making a left turn.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were through the intersection.
Yes.
Looks as if you were
I
through
was
the
about
intersection.
to be. It was like in the middle of the intersection.
What kind of citations were you issued, sir?
Just without a license.
What?
Without a license.
Okay. I'm just letting you know, Ms. Jimenez, the plaintiff had visible injuries that the police noted. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Bags going off. Did you have any other injuries?
So that was actually my son.
That was your son?
Yeah, that was my son because of the seat belts. Mine were both of my arms because when the airbags deployed, it crushed all my side. So both my arms were bleeding.
You were making a left turn.
Yeah.
She was going straight.
Yes.
You had a green light, but she was going straight and she had a green light. Do you understand?
Yeah.
That means you can't left turn. If she's going straight, that means she's got a green light. That's what it was. And you have to wait until she goes before you make a left turn.
Yeah.
Were they at the scene at the same time at any time?
No.
When your mother says that she asked Miss Cardoza, are you okay? That wasn't true.
No.
Was it true or it wasn't true?
And later today.
You have no proof here of anything. So I'm asking you, you want nothing or do you want your car back?
I want your $10,000.
I'd rather have my car back than nothing.
And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Paulina Cardozo claims Norma Jimenez and her 17-year-old son, Christopher Espinoza, owe for damages resulting from a car crash.
Okay. Now, when you got there, you started to yell at her. You want to tell me why? You want to tell me why you were yelling at her?
I didn't even yell at her. I got to the place, and then there was somebody waiting for me and told me that she had just hit them, like the person that there was a witness.
You can't tell me why you were yelling at her. Did you have a conversation with her?
I never had a conversation with her. I just asked her, are you okay? And then she said, they're taking my son to the hospital. That's all she said. And when I got there, the firefighter told me.
No, don't tell me what anybody told you, madam. Don't tell me what anybody told you. You called your mother?
Yes.
You used your cell phone?
No.
How did you call her?
My sister.
You used your sister's?
Yes.
And she came right over?
Yes.
Miss Cardozo was there when your mother got there?
Yes.
Do you want to answer me? Did your mother and Miss Cardoza, were they at the scene at the same time at any time?
No.
Before she was taken to the hospital?
No.
When your mother says that she asked Miss Cardoza, are you okay? That wasn't true.
No.
Was it true or it wasn't true?
It was true.
It was true, so that well, how did she communicate with Miss Cardoza if she didn't ask her, if she wasn't there? I'm going to ask you again. Was your mother at the scene when Miss Cardoza was also at the scene?
Yes.
And did you tell your mother that the accident was Miss Cardoza's fault?
No.
What did you tell your mother?
That we got in a car accident.
She didn't ask you what happened? Come on.
Yes.
Come on. Your mother asked you what happened.
Yeah.
And what did you tell her?
What happened?
Well, let me hear what you told your mother happened.
I was going in East Pleasant Valley Road. I put my left turn signal to go to the left turn lane.
You were in the left turn lane?
Yes.
And?
I waited to turn and turn.
And?
I was there and she swerved in and hit me.
She what?
She swerved in and hit me.
She swerved and hit you while you were making a left turn. She swerved into you. That's what you told your mother?
Yes.
Yeah. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
I feel like she was very fair to my aunt or something worse.
I only asked her, are you guys okay? Like, what happened? Somebody told me that it was you that hit them.
Till this day, it's haunting. My son doesn't like to get in the car anymore, so it's straining.
He wasn't even cited for the accident. He was cited for not having a license.
I think she thought it was my fault, and I feel like she still thinks it's my fault, but it was not my fault.
She was the one that hit him.
You need to have insurance, and you need to know how to drive.
I'm glad it's over.
This is a public service announcement to the governor of the state of California. Do everybody a favor. Propose legislation that mandates that if you drive without a license as an underage driver and you're caught and or have an accident, you are ineligible to get a driver's license until you're 25 years old. That would probably be a deterrent for some people. Something is wrong with the system. Those are my words for the day.
Case number 2061, Laura versus Burke. All parties, please step forward.
Michael Laura is suing car seller Donald Burke for a vintage car title.
Mr. Lara,
Yes, Your Honor.
you had a truck,
Yes.
and that truck was a 2007
Yes, Your Honor.
Nissan Frontier.
Correct.
When did you purchase it?
I purchased it in 2019.
From whom?
From a private owner. I don't have his name, but I purchased it over on an auto app.
So you found it online?
Yeah.
So it's still online. How much did you pay for the car in 2019?
In 2010, I paid $10,000.
I don't believe that. Let's try it one more time, Mr. Lara. Sale.
I don't have that bill of sale from back then.
Okay.
I have only the title that I had.
Okay. Let's assume for the moment that that's almost accurate, because the truck is now worth
somewhere between $8,000 and $9,000.
So that would be a depreciation. So now it's worth $8,000.
Okay.
You decided to sell it.
Correct. To trade it.
And you put an ad online to sell it?
Yes, I did.
You, Mr. Burke, had a 1947 classic Chrysler sedan.
Yes.
When did you get that?
Beginning of the year.
Beginning of
22.
And where did you get it from?
A car dealer had it for sale.
Car dealer where?
Montclair, California.
You remember the name of the car dealer?
No, ma'am, I don't.
But it was the beginning of 2022.
Yes.
And was it an ad online?
No, I was driving by and saw the car. I kind of liked the way it looked.
How much did you pay for it?
$12,500.
Do you have a bill of sale?
No.
That was just this year. Why don't you have a bill of sale?
I have the registration and title.
I don't need the registration and title. I need a bill of sale.
I don't have one.
Difference when you buy it from a private party, but if you buy... Do you have... It was the beginning of January. How did you pay for the car?
Cash.
Cash. Do you have a withdrawal from your bank of $12,500 to show me?
No, I don't.
Well, how do you expect me to decide this case? You have a claim, you have a counterclaim. Nobody has any proof. How do you expect me to decide? Each of you is suing the other for $10,000 without any proof of anything. How do you expect me to decide that?
Correct, Your Honor.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
You got it?
Yes.
You have the title. You have the keys. You have the truck. Understand this. Neither one of you are leaving here with a penny. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
No, I don't.
Owes him the title to a vintage car. Donald is countersuing, claiming Michael broke their agreement.
Okay. Do you have a car now?
Yes, I have a 2001 GMC truck.
No. You have his car.
Oh, yes, I have his car. Yes,
You
Your Honor.
have his car.
Yes.
And you have his truck.
Yes.
What do you want me to do?
I wasn't the one that started this.
Okay, Your Honor.
He doesn't have the title.
Well, he never produced the money that he was supposed to produce.
I have his title to his vehicle. He signed it over to me, and he gave me the keys as well.
Okay. I didn't ask you anything. Well, I want you have the title, you have the keys, you have the truck.
Correct, Your Honor.
My question to you is, you have the title to his car. He paid, let's assume he's correct, that he paid $12,500 for the car in the beginning of 2022. That car, which is a classic car, is now for sale, because I looked it up, I don't remember the numbers, for?
Between $18,000 and $60,000 on the high end of what I've seen.
Okay, so it's worth considerably more than what you paid for it. Roughly $10,000 more than what you paid for it, right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
You don't know him, do you?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
There would be no reason why he would make you a gift. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you have the title for that car.
Yes.
Because you say, according to you, that he didn't fulfill his promise.
Correct.
His contract to pay you an additional amount for it. Now you, yeah, good. And you want your car back.
I would just...
You want your... Well, I'm not giving you $10,000. I want you to just understand that.
Yes.
Because you have no proof here of anything that satisfies me. So I'm asking you, you want nothing, or do you want your car back?
Wait, your $10,000.
I'd rather have my car back than nothing.
You'd rather than have your car back. And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
you have the car.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And you put in some money in the truck.
Yes, the catalytic converters were bad.
How much money did you put into the truck?
$2,165.
Okay. And you have proof of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where?
Can I help him?
I don't need you for anything.
Here. And it still needs another $2,165 for the other side.
And you have the title to the car, is that right?
Yes.
Now, do you want nothing, or do you want your truck back, even though he added money to it? Do you want nothing, or do you want your truck back? That's my question to you. You want nothing, or you want your truck back?
My truck.
Great. And you want your car back?
Yes.
Perfect. And both of you have agreed, because there was clearly some misunderstanding between the two of you, giving you the total benefit of the doubt, sir, that there was additional money to be forthcoming. I'm speaking. Understand this. Neither one of you are leaving here with a penny. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
No, I don't. I put
very
$2,000 into his truck.
Very easy. Very easy, sir. You're getting back a car that you say is worth, she says, is worth $20,000.
Your Honor. Sorry.
It's not going to work for you. You're going to each end up with your own cars back. Since there was clearly a misunderstanding about the nature of the contract, what I'm telling you is that's the order of the court. Goodbye.
Court is adjourned.
Not even the $2,000 I put into his truck?
Goodbye.
This way, sir.
You can sell your 47 for a lot more money.
I didn't bring us here. He brought us here.
I like this car. He liked my truck. When I got there, we did the exchange. He signed the titles. He gave me the keys to the vehicle.
Well, he gave me a truck that needed a $4,000 repair, and he didn't mention that when he gave it to me. And my car, was nothing wrong with my car.
I have always maintained my vehicle. I have records of it and everything.
I'll just keep my car.
No more business deals.
So I really agree with you that there was no meeting of the minds, because the defendant thought that the plaintiff was going to pay him an additional $10,000 for the 1947 Chrysler, and no one had any proof of anything. So it's really hard to come to court with zero proof on either side. So I think your ruling to leave them how they were found prior to any what they believed to be a contract was the right decision, because
I'm so glad you felt that way.
Well, I mean, I was thinking to myself, looking over the papers, what's she going to do with this one? You know, it's hard because with no proof and a he said, she said verbal agreements with tangible items like vehicles, I probably would have done the same thing. I don't know what to make of this. I have nothing to look at, nothing to rely on.
And it was so interesting because they both bought these cars recently.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of them had bill of sale, said he paid cash, $12,500, showed me where you withdrew the money from a bank. Mm-hmm. The whole thing was suspicious to me. So to me, the easiest thing to do was leave the parties
as you found them.
As you found them. They had no contract because there was no meeting of the minds as to what the particulars were.
Equipment.
Mr. David, your claim that the defendant has acoustical equipment that you purchased for what looks to be a joint venture in Mr. Borum's music podcast.
Yes, ma'am.
You were making this music podcast in the basement of your house?
Yes, Your Honor.
Starting in what year?
This year of March.
And Mr. David, you were friends, you knew each other, and you knew he was in this business. I don't know, what is your business?
I deliver bread. I'm a bread vendor.
What kind of interest do you have in music? Because that's what he was doing.
Well, me and Jonathan have known each other for 20 years.
Jonathan and I have known each other.
Jonathan and I have known each other for 20 years, and he's always been in the music scene. He's an artist himself.
Well, that's what I gather. What about you?
I was just a supportive friend in it.
Okay, well, clearly you spent some money on music equipment, so it was more than being a supportive friend. If you were just being a supportive friend, then you made a gift to him of this music equipment.
No, ma'am.
You decided you wanted to be part of this music podcast. That's what you said.
Correct.
When did you make that decision?
Sometime mid-June after I had...
June of this year?
This year, correct. I had received a small amount of money, and I was invest and help out and help a friend and be able to invest into something that if we blew up one day, I could receive, royalties from and money back in return. And
did you have a written agreement with them?
We did not have a written agreement.
Well, I'd like to know what the agreement was.
So he was also in the car accident with me as well. And so he's got a settlement coming. He told me, this was all verbal, that once he received that money, he would pay me back at least half of the equipment.
So you would have a joint venture and he would pay you for half the equipment you purchased?
This was at the beginning, correct.
Do you remember, Mr. Borum, that conversation?
No, ma'am, Your Honor.
Were you in the automobile accident with him?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
You did not receive a settlement. Is there any reason?
We're still going through the court process.
Okay, so you're going to trial.
Actually, that's what it was set to go.
You indicate what you want is your equipment back.
No, I'd like the money back.
No, well, you get your equipment back. If it's yours.
I want the money. I don't trust that he will give me the equipment back in good condition.
Let me explain this to you, Mr. David. If that's what you want, then I'm going to let you withdraw this case and go back to small claims court. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I'm going to dismiss your case without prejudice, which will allow you to go back to your small claims court, or do you wish to proceed with it today?
I wish to proceed.
Great.
Joseph David claims his former friend, Jonathan Borum, is wrongfully keeping his podcast equipment.
So, when you decided to enter this, according to you, agreement, that you would be in a joint venture, when he got his money, he would pay in his half of what the equipment costs, which you indicate, I think, is about $4,400.
Correct.
What I gather is there was a session set up that was supposed to take place in your basement.
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that? Is there, Mr. Borum, a dispute about what equipment he purchased?
Is there a dispute? Yes,
yes,
ma'am.
because he has a receipt. I just want to know if I have to go into this.
Well, on the receipt, he purchased it on his card, but we're friends. We were going in together, so he bought it on his card because he had the money.
Oh, just a second. I understand that, Mr. Borum. I'm asking you whether there is an agreement as to what the pieces he purchased on his card.
Yes, ma'am. As far as the agreement, I'm not understanding the question.
Okay. What pieces of equipment did he buy that's in your basement?
Cameras.
Camera.
Cords.
Cord.
And probably the Black Magic.
Black Magic?
Black Magic, yes, ma'am. It's a device that works.
Do you know what he's talking about?
I do.
Anything else that's down there that you purchased other than those 3 items?
Yes, ma'am. In total...
What? Shh, look at me. Tell me what else.
In total, there's 2 Panasonic cameras.
Are there 2 cameras that he purchased? 2 cameras.
Can I look down?
How many?
It was a set of 2.
Did he purchase those?
Yes, ma'am. And not to correct you, but we purchased those.
No, you didn't pay for it.
I gave him the money. I gave him cash.
Oh, you did? You're going to show me proof of that in a moment.
Well, I don't have proof that I gave him cash. No, ma'am. Because we were friends, so...
Just a second. Okay. You have no proof? Did he give you cash?
No, ma'am. He never gave me $1.
Fine.
Not a penny.
Okay, let's go. We have 3 lights, 2 mics. What else?
HDMI cord.
He has a cord.
Black Magic A10.
He has that.
256 gigabyte SD card.
What is that?
Memory card.
It's a $50 memory card. It adds up.
Let's go.
The card reader, 20-foot cables, a stencil, and a table.
Just a second. A stencil and a table. Describe that.
It's for the logo that we made for the podcast. I purchased the stencil for the logo.
How much did you pay for that?
Between that and the table is $80.
Let's stay with the big ticket items, sir, Henry.
Adding
Great.
Everything.
Okay. Are we finished with the list?
Yep, that's all.
Very good. How much did you pay for these things minus the $50 card in total? Show me.
Minus the $50?
Yeah.
$43.50.
Session scheduled. Your daughter had COVID.
Yes, ma'am.
She lives on top of the house. Okay, and how old is she?
That was in July. She's 10 months now, so probably about 8 months.
Okay. And she's cared for by both you and your wife. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I gather, Mr. David, that when you found out that there was COVID in the house, you didn't want to go into the basement.
Correct.
And that was sometime in June.
Correct.
Okay, can you tell me about that conversation?
Well, he told me that she had COVID, and then he said that his fiance may possibly have it, and he may possibly have it. He even took off work, and I filled in for him at work for 3 days because he may have had COVID or not, and he said he wasn't
Well, he
feeling
wasn't. He didn't want to go in and risk it.
Correct. So I told him I do not want to continue with this interview. He said he would continue on.
You mean
with
the interview that was supposed to take place in the basement?
Correct.
How much after, Mr. David, did you find out that the infant had COVID and that Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
And when Mr. David told you he didn't feel comfortable people coming into the house. What did you say to him?
I said, okay, I would have someone else fill in his position because I understood why he didn't want to come over.
Okay, and did you have someone fill in his position?
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happened, Mr. Bourne?
The episode got done, and it wasn't up to par with Joseph's standards. So that's when the argument begun.
Okay, and the argument was what?
The argument was the guy didn't do it right, so it was a lot of bickering. So I told Joe, you know, I just do the editing myself. And he took that as I was cutting him out.
Okay, so he was supposed to do the editing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and why did you say, I'll do the editing myself?
Because he was yelling at me, and I told him...
What was he yelling at you about?
Because he said that the product wasn't up to par. He said...
Just a second, Mr. Borum, this is your business.
Right.
Will you tell me, did you think the product was up to par?
I did, but I thought it was up to par, but I took his recommendation because I brought him in for production. So I was like, okay, if you don't feel like it's up to par, let's figure it out. But then we kept going back and forth. So at that moment, I was like, you know what? I'll just do it myself so we can stop the confrontation. Because you didn't want to tell the guy what he did wrong. So then that's when the argument started, and he thought that I was kicking him out, which I never told.
This equipment. And Mr. Borum, I want to see where you took out $2,200 from in cash. I want to see where you took. You said you paid him half.
$2,200. I didn't pay half.
Well, what'd you pay?
I never stated that I paid half.
Shh. If you're partners, that's what you have to pay. How much did you give him?
I gave him money here and there, like on all the...
That doesn't help. That doesn't help me, sir. That doesn't help me. These are bank statements.
I didn't think I had to keep a record if we was best friends for 15 years. That's just...
I can't help you, sir. I can't help you if you say you paid a little bit here and there. I can't help you with that.
Never gave me a dime.
So when you state that if you're a friend, you're doing this to help me out as a gift for what I got going on.
Never a gift.
And then you try to bring it and take it back from me.
Mr. Borum, how many podcasts have you made since June?
Since June?
Yeah. So far, seen any profit?
Not as now, because you know you gotta build up.
Just a second. So not as of yet.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
Does your wife work?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you have two incomes in the house.
Right.
And this is a side job for you.
Correct.
But you have to buy your own equipment because he's coming to get his equipment. That's going to be the court's order.
So if
it's his equipment.
It's
his equipment. The equipment
so he
that
gift it to me. That's what he told me he was doing because we was friends. And he appreciated what I was doing.
This is why we're here.
Right.
And now I heard you, and I heard him, and now I'm ruling. I am making an order that he, within 5 days of today, with a marshal or a sheriff, will come and pick up his equipment.
So you giving him my equipment back is tarnishing what I got going on.
I'm giving him his equipment back.
But he never used it, though.
I don't care whether he used it or not. It was a failed business venture where you both expect...
It's not a business venture.
This is not a tea dance. He's getting back his equipment. You and your wife have a side business going. Go buy equipment. Do you understand? 5 days, wait outside. You'll get a copy of my order. You can go get your equipment.
And they gonna change.
I mean, I thought I had a good friend for a while, but really...
Man, the show gonna go on, man. Y'all know, make sure y'all watch, tune in.
I was just tolerating a really bad person.
I've had understandings with my friends similar to what the plaintiff and defendant has. One of my friends will stay in my apartment from time to time for a few nights, and I always make sure, because you never want a holdover tenant or a friend staying longer than you had anticipated, and I'll text and I'll say, okay, you're good to stay there Thursday and Friday night. Let me know if there's any problems, but you got to be gone by 9 a.m. on Saturday. Just to memorialize the understanding that I think I have, even with friends. It's just always smart to have some sort of record of a business, an understanding, a trade-off. I just think that it's good practice to, even if it's just a text, something to memorialize what you believe the understanding to be.
I agree with you. Yeah. And that would make my job easy. But what a...
Hello, xin chào tất cả các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu sự bức tranh một nữ siêu nhân nhé. Chúng ta cùng bắt đầu thôi nào.